Howard,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Michigan,
Here.
Blackburn, Hageman,
Here.
Alexander.
Here.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the agenda or to amend the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Motion to approve the regular council meeting minutes of May 18th, 2026. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to amend the minutes, if that's appropriate.
I will second.
Your amendment is.
So on the minutes, there's, near the bottom, there's a section on fire services discussion. And it introduces the motion that was approved to create the bi-municipal fire department, which is great. But after that discussion, there was quite a further discussion where a motion was made to rescind the motion that was passed on February 23rd that was to consider alternative options for fire services. At that time, it was stated that after discussion with legal counsel, we can't really rescind a motion, but we can make a new motion. And we did make a new motion, and the motion was, in essence, that we agree that when it comes to contracted services, it is the responsibility of the council to always consider other options for better services or better prices, no matter what the service is. And that was with the intent to override the specific motion to consider alternatives to fire services. That motion was passed unanimously. So my question is, why is it not in minutes?
That might have been an
There might
oversight.
have been an oversight, but I was writing this down as an amendment, not as a question, so sorry if I wasn't ready to answer.
Well, I guess it's both.
Gotcha. Okay, I will review and make the appropriate changes, and I can send you the changed or the amended minutes to confirm before they're published.
Okay. Now, I would like that amendment made tomorrow, and then you can send out
Yeah.
whatever your final minutes are at some point in time. Thank you.
So we will move them to approve those minutes at the next meeting then. When we get the,
Or approve them as
or
amended.
Yeah.
approve as amended.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous council meeting in May as amended.
Well, we already have the motion in the second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second.
Eric made the motion, Kathy seconded.
To amend.
2 minutes. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Ayes pass. Open this to public comments that are not on the published agenda. All right, we will, nobody's willing, okay, thank you. We will close the public comments. Discussion topics, police department monthly report. Chief?
Yes, if you look at the monthly report, there was a slight change from previous reports. And we've added a new category tracking for residential housing checks, businesses, and school checks. And if you take a look at that category, which I should have had in front of me a second ago, they're quite substantial. So last month, residential checks, 252, businesses, 28, school checks, 494. We also got a 4-count felony warrant on a gentleman that was over at the SAD working there, taking people's credit cards and using them fraudulently. So that was a success, and he's been arrested. We also, in your packet, have the second quarter co-responder report. And Kim is here. I'll introduce her in a little bit. You can ask her any questions on that report. Finally, someone in the crowd here asked me to talk a little bit about fireworks. So state law is June 29th through July 4th from 11 a.m. to 11:45. You can only use them on private property, not public roads or sidewalks. So please be safe. And the last thing, I want to introduce our newest officer, Katie Robinson.
Thank you. So I just kind of want to get to know, obviously, you guys as well as I've been, started to work here. I'm a very personable person. Community relationships are very important to me. So if you ever do see me out on the road or on anything, please do not hesitate to wave. I will definitely wave back, and definitely like to spend some time, obviously, getting to know all of you. And I would obviously love for you guys to get to know me. So to start off, I would just like to introduce myself and give you a little bit about me, so then we can grow that relationship in the future. So obviously my name is Katie Robinson. I'm 27 years old. I'm from Chesterfield, Michigan, born and raised there. I went to Anchor Bay School Districts my whole life, and then I graduated from Oakland University in 2021 with my bachelor's degree in criminal justice with a specialization in Homeland Security and a minor in sociology. And being a police officer has definitely been a goal of mine since I've been a little girl. So I do have a little bit of history with that as well. Before Chief Lawson here was a chief, he actually was my deputy chief over at West Bloomfield. I was a PSA, so like a cadet and a dispatcher there. From there I went to the OCC, so Oakland Community College Academy, and then I worked in Waterford as a police officer for a year. So I'm definitely very, very grateful to be here and to be part of Franklin Bingham Farms. So thank you guys for the honor of being able to serve you guys and protect you guys as well. And outside of work, I do have 3 brothers. I love to golf very, very much. So if you guys are golfers, let me know. And then I do have my dog Teddy at home, who give him lots of love. He loves me. So definitely being around people, friends, family, and golfing are definitely my favorite things to do. So like I said, I'm just very appreciative to be here, to be a part of this department, and to be able to serve you guys, protect you guys, and to build those relationships with you guys and the whole community here. So thank you for the time.
Great, thank you.
Superstar, right? Any questions on the report or any more questions from me before we go on to the next topic? Okay. The next is the Autism Initiative. Okay. So I'd like to introduce Kim Craighead, who is our co-responder.
Hello.
And our community activist over in Franklin. She's another superstar. And that is going to be Sarah Greslick.
He always makes me talk first, so that's fun for me. Hi, my name is Sarah Greslick. I am a Franklin resident. I actually live off Telegraph Road, so I can actually see Bingham Farms more than I see Franklin. And my children both attended Bingham Farms Elementary. So I am a huge member of this community. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the autism program and initiative that we have sort of worked together to bring to our community. This sort of came from a personal need. My son Charlie is 13 years old, and he is diagnosed with autism. He is a wonderful individual, but he has his quirks for sure. And a big question that sort of comes to mind as he sort of starts to become more independent is what happens if I'm not there and he needs help with his communication especially. And when I started thinking about that and I started to start to have all those parenting worries, I brought up that question to Chief Lawson and Kimberly about what we could do to proactively create a better way for our community to show up for each other and to understand each other. So with that, we combined our lived experience, their public safety knowledge. I'm also in school for social work, so I have some of that knowledge base myself. And we developed this autism emergency response program that's really about improving communication, reducing misunderstandings, and supporting safer interactions for our community. Can I talk a little bit about it?
Sure. So just some basic autism information. It's a neurological and developmental disorder. It affects communication, processing, social interactions, responses to stress. It is a spectrum because you can have people who are autistic that are nonverbal. They need assistance throughout the day, but you can have higher functioning autistic individuals who are able to drive, have jobs, live on their own. Oh, sorry. Still getting used to this. So they're able to drive and work independently. However, that can create some stress, especially if someone with autism can be pulled over. You have the lights, the sirens, that can be very overstimulating for those individuals. So we, in recognizing that someone, who gets pulled over with autism, they might shut down. The officers might view that as non-compliance, oppositional, and their strategies kind of change with that engagement. The idea is that with our communication card that we can give to that autistic person, when they hand them their driver's license, they'll hand them the card that automatically will let that officer know that they are autistic, that they may have those indifferences with the lights, the sirens, so then the officer knows how to more appropriately interact with that person. Also on the card is a contact information. So if that person really like shuts down, the officer is able to call someone right then and there, versus having to go through dispatch. Trying to think if I missed anything else. That's number.
So this is the card we're talking about. It's right here. So this is the size. And she covered most of it, but most importantly, this card stays with the individual. It's all voluntary. That person can decide whether or not to show the officer or not. But really, what's important to understand is that we're not trying to create labels here. We're trying to create understanding. And one thing I appreciate about this program is it does not require officers to change how they operate or how they're trained. Many of the strategies that we highlight is just good policing. It's things that we train on every day. And those things are de-escalation, speaking calmly to residents and people that we encounter, explaining what's going on when we can, allowing additional processing time, and asking clear questions. And I think when officers, or in any situation, if you have as much information as you can receive, the outcome is usually a little bit better. This card provides another tool for our officers to make informed decisions and deliver the best services to our residents.
I'll wrap it up by saying that I know in my life, his diagnosis didn't create the barriers. The world in which we had to engage in afterwards definitely did. Between his school environments, looking for ways to advocate, explaining to other people, even learning the language myself was very overwhelming. So the more I recognized that we could proactively look at the world around him and think, hey, how can we help the world understand you better instead of you always having to shift who you are to fit that mold, the better we could do as parents and as community members. And I just want to say that as a parent who's been involved in a lot of different advocacy work over the last 13 years, I have to say that this partnership has been by far the most incredible one I've ever worked on in terms of the reception from people who could make it happen all the way to community members, just showing up and saying, we support this, we want this for our community, we want to feel safe, we want our children to be safe. And that says so much about where we live, right? And I think so much about the Franklin Bingham Farms area is that community feel that you show up for your neighbors, that you're proud to live there. And we truly couldn't do it in the same capacity in which it was loved and so overwhelmingly positively embraced by everyone if we didn't live in a community like this, which you have all fostered. So we want to definitely thank you for doing that work too, because that allows us as parents to feel safer, as community members who work here to feel like we're all on the same page. So thank you in that way, and thank you to everyone in the public who has continued to show up and support us. And we look forward to seeing everyone and everyone getting their cards, and however we can continue to grow and support each other as a community even better. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So those two are on a tour of, they've been on Channel 4, WDIV. CBS called me the other day. They want to get them on TV. They've been on the Eagle, and they're going to be on Bloomfield TV shortly. So all promoting and talking about this initiative, which I think is very important. Next, we have Kim, again, our co-responder, and Hillary Nosbaum coming up to talk about our co-responder program, giving you a little bit more detail. I know there's a lot of people that want to move on to some other topics, but I think this is very informative and you'll find it interesting.
Put this reaches a little bit. A little bit like this. Sorry. Okay. Do you mind turning that, flipping that
It's
TV?
already on.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay, cool. Okay, great. Give me 1 second. I'll pull this up for you guys. Okay. Yay, okay, perfect. All right, perfect. So my name is Hillary Nussbaum. I'm the co-responder supervisor with Oakland Community Health Network. Our co-responder program has been active for about 5 years now. In August, it'll be our 5-year anniversary. So we're really excited to have Kim be part of our co-responder initiative. So she's a co-responder with Bingham Farms, Franklin, Sylvan Lake, and West Bloomfield, and Orchard Lake. Got them. It's hard to memorize that because I have 11 co-responders, so I've memorized each and every one of their jurisdictions. But we want to share a little bit about the initiative tonight, what we do, and share some statistics with you as well, just from the program and from its infancy from 5 years ago to where we are now. So this is a little bit about us. This is a little bit of an older picture, but so we've had some teammates who went and became deputies with the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. I'm not bitter; it's okay. But we've had to find a couple other replacements, and that's been great. So we have a full team again. So this is a little bit about our program. So a couple of us here, yours truly, Kim over here in the background, but a couple other co-responders with Royal Oak Police Department. This is Wixom Police Department. Some of us at Oakland Community Health Network, and then Kaylee, she's our co-responder in Waterford. So like I said, we have 11 co-responders in 20 jurisdictions, 20 police agencies across Oakland County. There's 43 police agencies in Oakland County, so we're almost halfway there, which is exciting. So we're excited to be moving, within the police jurisdictions. Okay. So a little overview about co-responders. We are clinicians. So I'm a licensed social worker. Kim is also a licensed social worker. We're either licensed master social workers or LPCs, licensed clinical psychologists. And so we're hired by Oakland Community Health Network, and we're contracted out to police departments where we are embedded in those departments. The goal or the aim is to partner our law enforcement response with behavioral health and substance use response as well. So when there's a call out for anything behavioral health, welfare check, suicidal ideation, suspicious person, anything like that, those are calls that we listen for. We carry a police radio, and we will go to those calls alongside our police partners to sort of help with de-escalation. And we look different. If you saw in that last picture, our vests are like a gray color. It says social worker really big. We're actually getting new ones that'll say co-responder clinician to make ourselves seem very different and stand out from police. Excuse me. We try to wear a different color than the officers as well, again, to stand out, to show that we're not, police officers. So we try to add supports to officers before, during, and after the crisis. A sort of nice indirect service that we provide is for officers. So officers also, they see trauma every day and deal with trauma every day. And even though it's not something we're directly doing, there's a lot of officers that come and talk to us too, and we try and provide them services and supports as well. So that's been a really unique kind of indirect service that we've been able to provide as well. So Kim is going to talk a little bit about how to use a co-responder and what we do. I'm going to sit over there while you do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the microphone. So again, I'm Kim. Thank you for having me in your communities. I just want to start off with that. I'm so grateful to be a part of it. Chief Lawson and the officers there have been amazing. I've been riding throughout the community with the officers, so I just want to, again, thank you so much for this opportunity. So how to use a co-responder. Like Hillary said, I listen to the radio for those types of mental health calls. I can assist with de-escalation efforts, suicide assessments, grief consultation or grief support if there is a scene with a death. A lot of resources. I can connect them with on scene, but also behind the scenes too. So the officers can put in referrals, and I will make phone calls and get the families or that person connected with resources within our community for that continuation of care. I also assist with petitions if somebody has to go to the hospital. When I get there with the person, I will go seek out either the doctor that's on call or the social worker to inform them of what's going on and what my perspective is of the incident and what type of care that person might need. When I'm not on scene itself, like I said, I'm usually coordinating resource connections, assisting detectives. I've gone on death notifications just to assist that family with that news. Follow up, Trying to think if there's anything else I'm missing.
Maybe just your coordination with Oakland Community Health Network and their providers.
Yep. So if we come in contact with a person who is in need of services, I can put in a referral with our agency to get them set up with a therapist. They'll get linked with a psychiatrist. We have a school navigator. We have our resource crisis center for those walk-in appointments. Soon to be like our officer drop-offs, formerly known as Common Ground. Am I saying anything outside those services? Court liaisons. I did have a situation within our community where we did have a female who needed not only that immediate intervention at the hospital, but needed ongoing care. So I made those calls, connections. She also needed, she wanted a religious-based therapist. So did some research for her cultural beliefs to get her linked up with somebody she felt comfortable with. So even if it's not through OCHN, I will still find where that person is most comfortable.
Yeah, and I'll just add, Oakland Community Health Network is Oakland County's community mental health authority. So, we link people with no insurance or Medicaid insurance particularly. We want to help those individuals get linked to the right resources. But as Kim said, if they have third-party insurances too, like Blue Cross, Blue Shield, McLaren, those types of things, we still help get them connected to those resources that they need. We try not to have any barriers for anybody. Just to give you a look at initial statistics, this is for all of our jurisdictions. Where we started in 2021, back in September, which is where we originally began, September 2021. That year we had 32 referrals. This includes the police referrals and on-scene referrals. And then you can see how far we've come over the years, all the way through now, year to date, 2026. I believe this ended probably April, so I'm about a month and a half behind. So you can imagine 2026 is going to be a little bit higher already. So as the jurisdictions, we grew in the number of police jurisdictions, our referral number also grew, as you can see. So fiscal year 26, quarters 2 and 3, just to give you an idea how our referrals work, where do they come from? There's a couple different ways that we can get that. Sometimes individuals will walk into the lobby at a police station asking for help or requiring some kind of mental health help. Where we can respond there right in the lobby. Other times police officers will stop us. It could be a detective, could be a dispatcher, and say, hey, I talked to this individual. Can you please follow up with this person? Which we will. That's a verbal handoff. A radio on scene, it is what it sounds like. We're on scene with an individual. And then self-dispatch is kind of a newer one. That's why it's kind of slimmer, where we're trying to indicate when we have dispatched ourselves to a scene. So that's a little bit about that. I'm trying to think of what the other category is to give you an example off the top of our head. We usually have another category just to make sure that if there's another referral that comes in. So for example, if an officer might hand a business card to somebody right now, that person may call, Kim and say, hey, can you, assist me with some resources? It's captured in the other category. So we're trying to break that apart a little bit. So these are for all of her communities, just so you know, not just Bingham Farms. We wanted to kind of show quarter 2 and 3 statistics. That includes all four jurisdictions. So you can see a little bit about what her outcomes look like. So maybe she gave some community resources. She oftentimes, I don't want to speak for you, but oftentimes we'll make attempts, maybe phone call attempts or in-person attempts. Sometimes we reach them, sometimes we don't. We don't usually give up after the first time, but we try a few times to try and connect with somebody. Sometimes people decline resources. We're able to connect them maybe with a provider at OCHN. Sometimes we refer them to Access, which is kind of the front doors into gaining services or gaining a provider at Oakland Community Health Network. So those are a little bit about some of the things that we do, and how we track the data of what we're doing when we're on a call. And here's our information. Is there any questions that we can answer for you? I know this was a very quick snippet of what we do, but happy to answer any questions.
I just appreciate knowing more about it.
Yeah.
I've been hearing it's coming and developing, and I can't think of any community that doesn't need and can use your help, so thank you.
Thank you.
I second.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Next on the agenda, fire department monthly report. Chief Tony's not here tonight. We've got a couple of firefighters.
Got a couple. Hi, Jerry Johnson, with Lieutenant with the Fire Department, and I'm going to be filling in for a brief second here. I'll make it quick. I'm sure you all have Tony's fire report. And anybody have any questions on it?
The one thing I did notice is that the response times were almost identical.
They are.
That was pretty fantastic.
Yep. Response times are, we've implemented some new plans on tackling Telegraph and 13 and Franklin Road. That's helped out a lot with the response there. And we've had some ongoing training with our members. So they're getting a little bit, they're safe, but a little bit more aggressive at both the intersections there. So it's been a positive all the way around with that. Because helping us on our arrival times at the hospital too. Because you're getting less than 30 minutes from the time of dispatch to time to the hospital. And most of them are less than that. The one thing I did want to bring up, if I can, there was 5 incidents. I don't think they get enough attention, and our members on the department don't really get that much attention. I'm going to address 3 incidents that we had. The fire department has had, which is quite unique, we do get pregnancies, but we don't normally get 2 active labors in a month and within about 3 weeks. So it's quite a unique thing. Both mothers were transported, and both mothers, unfortunately, I don't have a sex, I can't give that to you, but they both were transported, and one was contractions at 5 minutes, and another one was bouncing between 3 and 6. So they both were transported to the south side of Beaumont, and they are both doing fine. I'd like to also bring up a incident where we had, as being a senior lieutenant on these 5 incidents, the other one was a construction worker that fell. The 2 pregnancies were in Bingham Farms, and the 3 other incidents were in Franklin. But this construction worker fell from quite a height and was seriously injured, and he was transported as a priority 1 trauma. And we also had 2 other incidents which are extremely, I really want to give a lot of credit to everybody that was there. We had a garage fire that was a fully involved garage fire on last month, on a Saturday, with a fire through the roof. And that fire was knocked down by a single firefighter and the aid of a second firefighter in less than 12 minutes. And I think we were there for over an hour and a half, almost 2 hours by the time everything was done. The second incident, which is even more spectacular, as a career firefighter that I was for 25 years, we had a fire right here in Bingham Farms in a crawl space, a 2.5-foot crawl space. We had one firefighter who crawled almost 30 feet in the crawl space to extinguish this fire. It wasn't just a fire, it was a gas line that had a hole burned in it as a result of a high-powered electrical line that was actually, how they did it, I have no idea, but they drilled a hole right through the middle of the line, and the lady went to turn on her range at her breaker box and ended up burning a hole in the gas line, and it ignited underneath the house. Not only did I have one firefighter travel underneath it, I had a second firefighter get trapped under the ductwork and was very confident and freed himself and continued on and helped with the extinguishment of the fire. This particular incident, I really want to give the credit to the firefighters that were at that scene. They did an exceptional job. So, if you have any questions for the fire chief or the fire department.
John?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm Jim Kokensberger. I'm one of the commissioners on the fire department. I just want to speak a little bit about summertime. Summertime training at the fire department, summer often brings vacations, outdoor activities, and warm weather. But for the fire department, Franklin Bingham, it's also an important season for ongoing training. While residents enjoy the summer, emergency responders continue building the skills needed to protect the community. Regular summer training helps firefighters and emergency medical personnel strengthen their skills, improve teamwork, and stay ready for a wide range of emergencies that are common during the busiest times of year. Medical emergencies remain the most common calls for service, so ongoing hands-on training is essential. The fire department crews regularly practice patient assessment, life-saving interventions, and emergency medical procedures to deliver high-quality care when every second counts. Summer training also covers vehicle incident response, including patient extrication, use of extrication tools, cutting open cars. And then they also work with the rescue airbag system and traffic scene safety. Firefighters also review relay pumping, so in case there was ever a situation where there was a hydrant out or multiple hydrants or a main, we actually have to lay hose from truck to truck and simulate a water main. So we practice for that. We also augment that with our pumper tankers. We train for propane emergencies, rope rescue, mechanical advantage systems to both strengthen technical skills and teamwork. These realistic exercises help the crews stay sharp and respond safely and efficiently across the community. Summer also brings seasonal hazards, including heat-related illness, water emergencies. Our firefighters train and recognize and treat heat exhaustion, heat stroke, dehydration. Additional training includes firefighter rescue scenarios and deluge gun refresher, which is the large high-volume nozzle on the top of our truck that we can use for various scenarios. And also we would use it in like a high-risk incident and large-scale fire suppression operations. This ongoing work ensures the fire department personnel have the knowledge, skills, and confidence to respond effectively. It also reflects the department's commitment to the exceptional service and readiness for any emergency at any time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That it from the fire? Village manager's report.
Yeah, my report is in the packet. I would just like to add that I did, with much help from Yev, I did update the, where your taxes go. So that's there's a hard copy right over there. It'll be on our website and also out on our next newsletter, just showing more than it used to. So it'll show everything, including the schools and library, and everything is spelled out. So that's all I've got.
Thank you.
Yep.
Ministerial Assistant Economic Development Coordinator's report.
You have my written report. I'm happy to take any questions on that. Otherwise, just going to mention that the SAD invoicing and payment collection is going well and progressing just like it did last year.
Okay, thank you. Board and committee updates.
Dee, if you don't mind, I'd like to read the notes that were taken during our first 5-year strategic planning.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm not sure it's technically a board, but it's a committee that's been
Yeah.
for by this council. So the first meeting of the Franklin Bingham Farms Fire Department 5-year strategic planning meeting committee was held at Bingham Farms village offices on Wednesday, June 3rd. Attendees representing Franklin were David Goldberg, Rachel Lofgren, Jody Holbrook. Attendees representing Bingham Farms were Jamie Moore, Bill Patton, D.E. Hageman, and Eric McAlexander. Attendees from the fire department were Steve Croyle, Jim Kokensparger, Richard Rubin, Jerry Johnson, and Tony Overbaugh. Committee briefly discussed its purpose. The villages of Franklin and Bingham Farms rely on the Franklin Bingham Fire Department for fire services. To provide residents with the highest quality fire protection, the villages must work together to establish a plan that supports their goals and provides the fire department clear direction on the scope of services. A 5-year strategic plan can provide that direction and establish measurable objectives. Most of the meeting was spent in open discussion. A few highlights of the open discussion include advanced life support and basic life support, the pros and cons, the cost and timing to achieve an ALS certified fire department. Comments were made of the lack of involvement from the villages regarding the preparation of the fire department. the villages should be meeting on the budget and having discussions with the fire department in advance. Franklin refers to what they have as a quote-unquote water problem. Franklin has no fire hydrants. They must depend on fire tanker trucks for water, and I think somehow that will be part of an overall strategic plan as well. We talked about the need for cost controls and responsible stewardship of public funds, but at the same time, we talked about making sure that the fire department is adequately funded to meet the expectations of the villages. We talked about organizing the fire department so donations can be made tax deductible and use this among other possible ways to create more revenue streams. Challenges of recruiting and retaining volunteers were discussed. Challenges associated with the changing demands of the fire department. Many of the new homes are very large new homes. There's potential new residential developments, as we're all aware, and there's a large retiree population. So all this is part of making sure we understand the changing demands that we will need from the fire department. And we talked about establishing a baseline of exactly what services are currently provided so we can build from there. There seemed to be general agreement that meeting as a committee with representation from both villages and the fire department was positive and something that has not occurred in the past. There was an agreement that each group, Franklin, Bingham Farms, and the fire department, would develop a list of objectives they would like to see in the strategic plan and present them at the next meeting. The next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, July 29th at 8 a.m. at the fire department.
Okay. Anything from next?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. The fire department did meet last week. We just basically, it was somewhat what Eric had brought up. We discussed what the budgets were, and also what Franklin is going to be doing. Don't know if there's going to be a millage on the November ballot or not. It's still up in the air, if I remember.
It's supposed to be, as far as I know.
So they are going to go through it. Okay. We also discussed that we would love to get 2 new tankers to replace the ones that were here, but we're still waiting for budgets to be approved before anything else can be done. And that's my report from the fire department. Okay, with that takes care of board and committee updates. New business. Public hearing is now open for the 2026-27 budget. That's open to the public?
Yeah, I'm gonna open the public hearing, yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening. How's your golf game?
Actually, I shot pretty well today.
My name is Jeff Ducombe, 30153 Bristol Lane. Regarding the fire services budget, I'd like to make the following points. Now, I know this has become a very complicated issue. There are many differing views of the fire department's future direction. Eric just spoke to some of those right now. And I'm nowhere near the expert on these matters, but I have spent time talking to several people on this council, with the fire chief, and I have a contact in Franklin who knows quite a bit about what's going on in Franklin as well. I have learned there's enough to understand that there are some structural issues. Need to be aligned on strategic alignment. There are budgetary issues and how the budgets are developed. There are issues on spending and capital allocation. There are ongoing deficits. And there's operational, organizational issues that need to be addressed as well. This has been a long time coming. I also believe that everybody in this council, everybody involved in this wants the best for our fire department and our residents. Common sense tells me you need to have one cook in the kitchen. Common sense tells me that it's wrong for the Bingham Farms budget to insert itself in how to allocate its capital. But this is what's happening with the Bingham Farms budget proposal. It's unilaterally allocating spending and how the fire department is going to handle its spending with 2 accounts without any direction from the committee that Eric just spoke about. It's introducing another cook in the kitchen, and that's going to spoil the broth. Therefore, I think Bingham Farms should adopt past practice with one account for the fire department, keep one cook in the kitchen, don't spoil the broth, and let Eric and this committee do their work offline. He will develop an answer long term. I'm confident of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Any more comments?
I have a letter that a resident passed on to me because she couldn't make it tonight
Okay,
and asked that I read it.
please do.
This is from Maggie Bingham, 22905 Bristol Court. Looking at proposed budget for Bingham Farms for 2026-27, I have a question. Did Franklin Village break their fee for fire into two line items, service and capital? Why would Bingham Farms decide this year to have a dual entry for our fire department cost? What makes you so knowledgeable that they need to have a special identification like capital? Wouldn't fire services know if and when they need capital investments? This would be like me, an average person, paying my Bingham Farms Village taxes and stating that a portion, let's say $500, would have to be put in escrow and used just for my street, Bristol Court. It couldn't be part of the general fund. I think that would irritate you, and I look at what you want to do as though you want to irritate the fire department. This will seriously affect the fire department budget. No raises. Borrowing from the Franklin Village General Fund. How would Bingham Farms employees feel if there wasn't enough money in the general fund earmarked for their impending raises? Instead, taxpayers earmarked a portion of their tax funds somewhere else other than the general fund. Do you think you really know better than they do? We have never done this in the past. Why start now? Not unless you want to try and hold up upper hand and irritate the fire department. I don't think we want you to irritate the fire department. Thank you.
Please.
I'm Dawn Ducombe. I live at 30153 Bristol Lane. I'm speaking tonight with concerns about how the fire department budget has been presented for a vote. I'm concerned that splitting the budget between operations and capital reserve will not meet the operating expenses of the fire department. Tony has declared that this is true. They will need to draw from their reserve to cover the extra costs you have chosen to delete from the Bingham Farms, what we give to the department. This will have long-term effects which will not benefit our community. Given what has occurred over the last couple of months regarding the fire department, it's obvious to me that the optics of this budget cut are not good. This does not appear to be about money, as it was rumored we would have paid far more money to Bloomfield Township than what we're paying to Franklin. I don't see any benefit to the residents in making this split, and that is the council's job, to manage the village in such a way as to benefit the residents. That is what you were elected to do. Secondly, why are you capping operations to the same as last year, which leaves no room for wage increase? Are the village workers willing to decline their 4% raise and be treated like our firemen? Why can they get a raise and not our firemen? Thirdly, a committee has been formed, as we talked about, in hopes of having a more transparent relationship with the department. What you are doing does not comply with what the committee is trying to accomplish. Why was this committee formed if you're now trying to usurp their job and make decisions against them? It simply creates more distrust and more animosity. I am, quite frankly, tired of all of this animosity. The residents made it quite clear that we want a relationship with the Franklin Fire Department. Why are a few trying to destroy what the residents want? Fourth, there was an attempt to get Franklin to also split their budget, so that it would make it, why did that happen? So it would make it easier to get our council to do the same. Thankfully, they declined. That may have changed, I don't know. In my opinion, that was very unprofessional and casts a dark shadow over Bingham Farms. Fifth, this move to pass a split budget has had very demoralizing effects on our volunteer firefighters. They are now questioning why they are putting their lives on the line for a community that does not support them. Actually, the community does support them. A few people are trying everything they can to create division and destroy the relationship Bingham has had with the Franklin Fire Department for many years. Did you think about this aspect before you wrote the budget? Do we want to lose our volunteer firefighters? And finally, rules of the game are made before the game is played. It's now 4th down, last play of the game, 1 second on the clock, and now a few people on the council are trying to move the goalpost. I ask the council members to not move the goalpost. Do not vote for the current split budget. Pass a budget that is a lump sum and let the fire department decide where to utilize the funds. A split budget has never been done before. Why now? Give the newly formed committee a chance to work with the fire department and build a better and stronger department based on transparency, trust, and community support. Vote for something that creates positivity and builds a better, stronger community and fire department.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anybody, I should say anybody else, please.
Good evening, Marshall Lasser, 30029 Bristol Lane. I'm here for my wife as well. We both fully endorse the words of Jeff and Dawn Ducombe, and we believe that nothing should be done to slight or harm the relationship between our villagers and the fire department. Very simple. We want the status quo to continue. It's worked. Why change it? Thank you.
Thank you. That young lady would like to, there's plenty of seats if you want to step
No,
right
that's
in,
okay.
please.
I don't like to sit, but I also don't like being here in front of the council. I don't like to do this. I've lived in Bingham Farms for 45 years.
Could you state your name, please?
Oh, Carol Osment, Bristol Lane. And I felt like we always had people who were watching out for us, were trying to do what we thought was the best for everybody. And now I feel like all of a sudden there's all of this uncertainty of what's happening and who's deciding it for us, and then not letting us kind of know about it. I feel like we're getting blindsided. Why do we hear about village decisions at the last moment that affect all of us? And I guess my biggest thing is I really feel like other people have said that we need to have a really good relationship. We already have a good relationship with police and fire and all of those people. And do we really want them unhappy with us and feeling unappreciated? I've talked to a couple volunteers who have always been just ready to go, ready to get up in the middle of the night and head out and do whatever they have to do. And they're like, the middle of the night, my buzzer goes off and I'm like, yeah, I should go. But they're feeling unappreciated, like we're kind of going against them rather than them being on our side and us being on their side. And I just think that it's kind of sad to think that they're feeling that way, because they do this, some of them, for no money at all. They do it because they love it, they love the village, and they want it to be a great place. I just really want them to feel appreciated and that they want to go wherever we need them. And I think that just trying to quibble over this money is just not necessary, and let's just keep them happy and keep us all safe and our houses safe and everything that we've always had. That's all.
Thanks, Karen.
Yeah.
Any more folks in the outside world there?
You better.
Yeah. All right, since no one, then we will close this portion of the public hearing for the budget. Thank you for all that participated, I appreciate it. Okay, next item is adopt Appropriations Act for fiscal year 2026-2027 budget. I mentioned that is the budget we have in front of us.
Yes, actually I can comment on it. So there's good evening. There's a resolution to adopt the budget that's in your packet, suggested resolution. I just wanted to also publicly acknowledge and thank the budget committee, Jamie, for doing a lot of heavy lifting, and also our accountant and external auditor, because I've been in and out of the office through a lot of the changes within the budget. So to pull it together, there was a lot of heavy lifting that was done, that was in it. if there's any other questions that I or Jamie, and again, we do have our accountant and our auditor here that could add any color or help answer any questions that the council may have. And of course, Eric and Diane were part of that budget committee as well.
There may be a lot of questions, but I want to make a comment before we get into it, not because I was part of the budget committee. And so just to start, because I'm sure there's lots and lots of questions. I personally do not support this budget as it's written, specifically the fire services and fire capital being split. I have no problem with the total number. But even as part of the budget committee, I do not agree that this is the right way to prepare the budget. So we can discuss however much we want to, and everybody's got their own vote on one vote. But I would not support the budget as it's prepared.
I will say that this split budget is a compromise, and that's where it came from. Unfortunately, our president is not here, but there was a dissension on the committee as to how we should proceed. And so this total number was agreed upon and is. So this was a way to compromise. But the president's not here to speak on her behalf. So that's how the budget came to be, as a compromise.
What were the two sides, the more extreme and then on both sides, that we came to this compromise?
The original number of 608 was one side, and sticking to that number. The 677 was the other number. And so the compromise was 608 for operating, and then the balance to equal the 677 put into capital.
Right. The one other thing that I did want to mention is that the 677-192, for the years that I've been here, it's always been a split, 50% for the village of Franklin, 50% for the village of Bingham Farms. So the 677-192 is what was approved per the treasurer from Franklin of what they're providing towards the fire department services. So with that number that's in our budget, it matches 50% Bingham Farms, 50% Village of Franklin.
That's where I was headed. So why would we need to I'm not sure I understand the need to separate
We don't.
the funds.
It was, again, at the meeting, there was a strong opposition
Okay, I got it.
to any increase
Yeah.
in the budget.
Yeah.
And so this was a way to get extra dollars into the fire department, but not to take the operating part of it
But
and
once we
increase
give
that.
it to the fire department, we really don't get to.
Yeah, so
Well, it was
What is-
an attempt.
what does the line item for fire capital mean?
That is reserved.
I know what capital is, but what's it being put towards?
There was no funding for, 2 years, Eric, or 3 years for reserves?
Last year was I'm not sure how much the fire department put in reserves, but last year is the first year I know of that the proposed fire budget, again, that I know of, that the proposed fire budget was underfunded between Bingham Farms and Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, again, a lot of it is issues with Franklin that we all know about. This year, the same circumstance arose. The fire department, this isn't the fire department budgets, they presented a budget that was significantly higher than this. So the total, again, is what our villages in Franklin authorized them to collect, and we said we would match it. So that's but in fact, the past 2 years, the budget has been underfunded. We'll have to decide how we catch up with that, or if we need to catch up with that, that's a lot of what we're working on.
That's right.
So their request was more than 670.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Their request, just so you know, of Bingham, total was a little over $700,000 per village.
Okay.
So it was like $23,000 more.
Yeah, but 1.426 million was their total request for the operating budget.
Mm-hmm.
Then on top of that, which historically has been the case with the fire department, they put a number for an escrow or for a reserve, then that's building money for future purchases of capital equipment. Again, the past couple of years, what they've asked for is $100,000 from each community. Last year, again, it was underfunded. This year, it will be underfunded. And the problem that I have, because I was the dissenter, if somehow, I don't even know if we can actually, but if somehow we restrict our money that only a certain amount can go to the operating budget, a lot of what was said is going to happen. There's not going to be enough money for increases to the salaries. Let me just put it this way. The fire department to work on a flat operating budget year over year will have to make some really, really difficult decisions on how they meet that budget. And in my opinion, those decisions will affect the effectiveness of the fire department to our residents.
And I don't want to have to answer to any resident who experiences that situation. I think that is abhorrent. If we didn't have it, I can understand that we'd have to look at other options. But I think the reality is so stark. I watched my house burn down when I was about 8. And it's a trauma that still lives with me. And I just don't want that repeated. So, you know, I'm skewed, my vision is skewed because of life experiences, but it's also something that is just logical, that you look at what your priorities are. And the safety of this community and all its people is gotta be number one. And I don't think we, at this point in negotiation, should start separating accounts. I'm going to suggest that we've got a 5-year plan that we're going to be working on, and that we first of all finish the budget for this year because of the timing, and then over the next 5 years, we work on any logical changes that would improve funding and maintain good performance, which is really what we want. So I'm just expressing, I'm sorry.
Well, I'll make a motion to amend the budget from 2 lines to 1 line item at the 677.
But I still have even more to say on this. I think we should do the same thing with the police budget. Because the police budget, you have police services and then you have police contract reconciliation of $54,803. Now, the other thing that got me, I should also state that the budget that I got as of last Wednesday is not the same as this budget is that we got on our packet. Anyway, so I would suggest too that whatever the reconciliation is, that also be turned into the police services. So you have 1 line item for police service and 1 line item for fire services. What bugs me is that we can't tell the fire department what to do with their money. We don't tell car trucking what to do with their money. We don't tell the police department what to do with their money. They tell us what they need. Either we approve or we disapprove, or in this case, there are millages set up. We have always split whatever Franklin has had or whatever Franklin offers to the police and fire. We, where the total budget is, we split it. Police or fire actually was asking for $713,069 for this year, and we're going to be what $40 or $50,000 underneath that. But that's also regulated as to what Franklin puts in, and there's going to be a new millage go up in November, and whatever that is, then we will then, I'm assuming, well, I will make sure, we will then also match that, whatever that is. Because for them, it's more of a pass-through. So yes, I agree that to me, there are 2 line items. The other thing that got me too was that we took the police contract reconciliation, that was up 100% from last year, but it was no percent on the fire capital from last year. So that kind of caught me.
And there was no line item for reconciliation.
There wasn't a line item for fire capital. either.
Yeah, there was no line item for the police reconciliation last year, because every year, the auditor does an audit of the police department, and they true up so that last year, we actually received money back from it because they spent less. This year, it went the other way, and we owe. The same thing when trustee, I'll just step back a second. When trustee Kurt Jones was on, he also made the change that what happened is that when that reconciliation was done, we did the budget from the prior year that we approved it. So if we ended up owing, we don't know until the actual reconciliation and the true up is done. So at certain points in times, we did owe $50,000 at one point. We didn't have it budgeted. So what he did was we changed the agreement to say, do the reconciliation, but then give us the invoice, which we've received, and then we will put it in the budget for the new fiscal year, and then I pay it out come July of this new fiscal year. So that was a timing issue between the reconciliation, making sure we had the funds appropriated, and then going ahead, putting it in a specific line item. And if you notice, it's the same account number, it's just designated at the last three digits of 001, just to track whether or not when we owe those funds after reconciliation. So I don't know if that gives it a little bit more perspective
Well, that
for
then
you.
begs the question, why does not the fire department do exactly the same thing?
It wasn't part of the contract. My understanding between us and the fire department versus the contract that's with Bingham Farms and the police department.
We have a separate contract?
We have separate
Yeah,
contract,
there's
yes, we do.
there's actually, in the police contract, there's actually a very clear definition of the calculation that will be used for the reconciliation.
Okay.
So it starts out with
I did not know that.
the Franklin, because they're part of the Franklin municipality, so budget is approved. Then you have to net out of that the SAD, and you have to net out of that any revenue they get from contributions, things of that nature. Anyway, there's a number of things you net out to come to a number. Then we get 35% of that number, and they keep 65%. But that reconciliation occurs every year as they go through and finalize what the actuals were. It's really just saying these were the actuals, and we need to true that up. So this is the.
Fire Council has a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if the same model works for the fire department, but maybe there's something in there to learn. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So therefore, DE, that number of 53,803 is really a one-time number based on the contract.
And based on the reconciliation for this past
But it
year.
happens one time every year.
Yeah.
Every year it happens. There's a reconciliation.
But there's a history and a story and a definition of what that contract reconciliation
So
is.
sometimes it's less, sometimes it's
Yeah.
less.
Last year, I believe we got $8,000, 8,000 and change back. The year prior to that, we had also received a check back or refund back. The year prior to that, I believe it was where we owed, it was prior to my time, but it was, I think we owed $50,000.
Okay. This time it's 53,000.
So, question on the fire capital, I guess I'm used to capital being a different thing, it's tracked differently. It's got a time aspect to it of how you do all kinds of things. And I guess, do we know why that was chosen as, I guess I'm going to, you had said that there's been a time at which there's been money requested for, you said?
Capital or reserves.
Reserves.
That's the same as capital.
Is that what that would have been for, and they're behind? You're saying they're behind on what the reserves was, and now this is saying we're calling that capital? I guess I'm trying to understand better what that line
I think
intended to be.
Again, historically, the fire department says this is an operating budget, and this is what we would, because they also have I guess it's a 10-year projection of capital needs.
Right.
Obviously, if you're buying a fire truck, it's very expensive.
Right.
So
I'm going to save up for it.
So they're saving up for it.
Right.
I don't know exactly how they allocated money last year, but whether it was last year or this year, the underfunding on paper would suggest that there was no money set aside in their reserve. So at some point, that will catch up with the villages. Don't know when, but it will catch up. So as Diane's explained, for right or for wrong, I think we've all got an opinion on this. The desire of some of the committee was to not increase the operating budget. And then the difference between the 607, which would have kept it flat,
Right.
and the 69 is the $677,000 that Franklin authorized, and Bingham Farms is saying we're going to match. But in this case, Bingham Farms is saying we want we'll give this much for your operating budget, and then this much has to go into the capital reserves.
Yeah, we have a motion though to combine those two.
That's right.
That's correct.
So the motion was just for the fire department combination.
Yep.
And then you had made a comment about also adding the police, but I think the explanation.
The explanation took care of that, so I would go back to your original.
So the original motion is on the floor.
Do I have a second for that?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All negative? Motion passes. Now, do I need a motion for the entire budget? That was just one line item, but we also need a motion for the fiscal year budget.
So was the motion just to amend, not?
The motion was just to amend that one.
That's right.
Yes.
I need a motion for accepting the budget as amended,
Isn't the resolution?
or a resolution.
Yes, resolution.
Did you give me the words, Bill? I said, Bill, did you give me the words to me?
There's a sample, I believe there's a sample resolution in the packet.
I'm looking for it.
Explain the difference between a resolution and a motion.
Here's the Headley.
Resolution is more formal and in writing, and certain statutes or rules require that formality.
Okay.
Definitions.
More
Resolution.
formal than.
Adopt Appropriations Act?
Yes.
Is that the one?
That's the one.
Okay, whoever finds it has to read it.
You don't have to read the whole resolution, because sometimes
Okay.
several pages you can say.
As written, yeah.
Okay, all right, I make a motion to adopt the resolution to adopt Appropriations Act for fiscal 2026/2027 budget as written.
I second.
We have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All negative? Motion passes, or resolution passes.
Should that have been roll call for resolution?
Oh,
Should that have been,
I can do a roll call.
can we do a roll call on that?
Yeah, let me do a roll call, yep.
Roll call usually.
Blackburn, absent. Howard,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mishikian,
Aye.
Hageman,
Aye.
McAlexander,
Aye.
Durrani.
Aye.
For clarification, that's as amended. You said as written?
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah,
as amended.
Yeah, as amended.
As amended.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's a one-line item. So every resolution, then we need a roll call?
Yeah, you should have a roll call
Okay.
for, yeah.
All right. Adopt the 26-27 millage rates.
Yep, I'll give the precursor to that.
Thank you.
The budget was built upon continuing to keep the levying the 10 mills for the village. Just for everyone's sake, let me just go back here and let everyone know, I'm sure you might have seen it, but just to call it to your attention. The calculation for Headley rollback,
Yes.
the village is authorized to go up to 20 mills. It has been the charter back in the 50s. The calculation I do every year for Headley is the maximum allowable millage rate is 12.0315. So we are continuing to keep the 10 mills assessed. That will go out in the tax bills that I'm working on to get out for the July 1. And it will be stated at 10 mills. And this resolution continues and adopts the fact that we are going to levy 10 mills and stay at 10 mills as we were last year. The resolution is also in your packet for the adopt the millage, to adopt the millage rate.
Mhm.
I'll move that we adopt the 2026-27 millage rate of 10.
10%.
10 mils.
10 mils. 10 mils. And I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Roll call. Miller,
Aye.
Mashikian,
Aye.
Hageman,
Aye.
McAlexander,
Aye.
Jaroni,
Aye.
Blackburn, absent, Howard.
Aye.
Okay, public hearing and resolution to adopt the police SAD for fiscal year 26-27. Anybody here to discuss that at all?
Says another.
first.
Oh, it's a public, okay. Let me open the public hearing on that. Anybody here to discuss the resolution? Seeing no hands raised, I will close the public hearing.
So Jimmy, now
I mean,
the
there is an absolute number determined, right, that will go into this
yes.
resolution?
Yep.
So now we need someone to offer it in second.
Any discussion on it? Well,
Yeah, the resolution's in your packet.
It's adopting the police special assessment district and confirming the special assessment role for fiscal year July 1, 2026 through June 30th, 2027.
Correct.
As presented.
Was that a motion?
Yeah, that's no, it's a resolution.
Well, you made a motion.
She's offering the
Resolution.
I'll second.
2026. Thank you, Mike. You could have just said that.
Well, I didn't know if you.
You didn't have to go into.
So we have a motion and a second?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jaroni,
Aye.
Howard,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mashikian,
Aye.
Blackburn, absent, Hageman,
aye.
McAlexander.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. Line item E, adopt the Woodland Pump SAD for fiscal year 26-27. Is this more of a pass-through? Just kind of.
I think so.
Are there any changes
Bill
to
can
that?
So-
probably,
It's the same as it's always.
I'll comment on it. So our friends in the back from WRC provide me a expense cost for that specific assessment district for the pump in Woodland. It was 4,200, it's been 4,200 since I've been here. It's maintaining at 4,200. Notices went out to each resident with what their share was based upon the 2026 SEV. That's how it's split and categorized. And every year we put the resolution in front in order for you guys to approve and adopt that resolution so that it gets as a line item for Woodland residents to be on their tax bill. You'll see their share for those 11 properties. There's 11 parcels that it's split amongst.
I make a motion to adopt the resolution for the Woodland Pump Station and Drainage Basin operation for fiscal 2026-2027 Special Assessment District. Special Assessment District.
I second.
let's do a
We have a
roll call.
motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Blackburn, absent, Howard,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
Mashikian,
Aye.
Hageman,
Aye.
McAlexander,
Aye.
Jaroni.
Aye.
All right, next item. Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner rates presentation for the 26-27. I think that's you guys in the back. Welcome aboard.
Good evening. Good evening. Raphael Chirola with Oakland County Water Resource Commissioner's Office. You want me to connect and show the pictures as we talk?
That'd be good.
All right. See if this works.
Okay, I'll leave that to you.
The other one is the first one. Yep.
Sometimes I use it every day.
Just the vote.
Give it a second.
I just turned it back on.
No, I'm getting
Could be my computer. That's it. Oh. I do have printout.
It's in the packet.
It's in there.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll try one more trick. Do turn behind you and unplug it.
That's a new,
plug it right back.
that's a new computer, so it's not cooperating with some of the, in fact, this wouldn't surprise me if it did not work. See what happens.
Well, we've got it here.
We
Yeah,
got it,
it's in
yeah,
there.
we're fine.
Yeah, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but, huh, that's odd. Okay.
It's in the,
Oh, hold on. Nope.
Yeah, next thing I would have to do is mess with your settings and that.
No, yeah. Actually, that probably would be nice if you did. But, all right, well, let me
it's
close
in their
that.
packet, it's on
Yeah.
like, yeah.
All right, so as usual, we come here with bad news. You know, rates are going up. I'll give you a preview. I'm going to skip over the preliminary stuff and jump right to this first slide on projected volumes. All right. So, as you can see, we haven't hit our projections in a few years. All right. We're using a 5-year average. Drew and I were helping with your sales by going to the Thai place down there on Telegraph. So it wasn't available last year. It's open now. So yeah, we're giving you some business. All right. Anyway, 5-year average. That's 9,900. Flipping to the next page. This is really the meat of the discussion here. As you can see, that's a 2.8% reduction in sales volume. That's the denominator. If everything stayed the same, you'd still be looking at a rate increase just by lack of sales. All right.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Isn't a lack of sales a good thing? Doesn't it mean that people are being more efficient with their water usage, or am I looking at that incorrectly?
I don't think that's what the trend in the nation's following this.
Yeah.
Following this very same thing.
Oh.
I mean, people
Yeah,
buy a
so
new
that's-
dishwasher, it uses less water.
Well, that's really the point. Shower heads.
we're using less water.
Yeah. You know, you have those new super efficient toilets and
Yeah.
Right.
So
So,
the
yeah.
projections.
household populations seem to be decreasing
in.
in our area for the most part.
Okay.
So when you may have 4 people in the house, you may have 2 now,
Yeah.
things like that.
Okay.
But it's a trend that we're seeing all over the nation and in Southeast Michigan. So,
So the volume's going down, but our price is going up.
even if nothing changed, budget-wise. But budget is going up, so it's even more dramatic.
What's the primary driver for that increase? Labor, materials?
Oh, we'll get into that. I'm working my way through this
Sorry.
page. All right, so sewage treatment. So this is your Evergreen Farmington charges. Evergreen Farmington is the Oakland County district that takes your sewage from Bingham Farms and gets it to GLWA. Evergreen Farmington has a contract with GLWA, which then takes your sewage to the intersection of Detroit River and River Rouge for processing and then discharge into the river. All right, so that's what you're paying for with Evergreen Farmington. Overall, there was a 3.1% increase in Evergreen Farmington charges. GLWA charges of that portion were 4.2. Most wholesale customers of GLWA saw that 4.2% increase. Evergreen Farmington kept their major maintenance and capital flat. So we had a lower than the GLWA increase on the Evergreen Farmington side. Unfortunately, this year, sometimes I bring good news, sometimes I bring in bad news, but this year, your 5-year average flow in relationships with all the other customers in Evergreen Farmington was a little higher. So instead of 3.1% increase, you're seeing 3.5. All right, that's the Evergreen Farmington charges. Operating expenses, I couldn't really pinpoint anything in particular, but 2% increase there. Reserves were going up 3% on both major maintenance and capital. So just a typical 3% increase. We don't see any reason to increase it any more than that. Non-operating debt service, your share of the 8 Mile Camp project, I believe. We had originally put it in there in your rates 3 or 4 years ago now. We've been living off that number for a while. It's been good for the system. However, I'm just going to give you a heads up, and next year will not be the same amount. Most likely, you're looking at about a $6,000 increase when we come talk to you in 2028 for 2028 rates next year. All right, just giving you a heads up because that's the first year that particular debt's going to have to pay principal. So congratulations, you'll be part of that payment. Most of the customers in Evergreen Farmington also are part of that issue. All right, non-rate revenue, we've seen that increase, which is a good offset, right? Most of that's interest on people not paying their bills on time. So if you want to increase the revenue to the system, just hold off on paying your bills until it's past due. It brings in a little extra money to the system. Anyway, on the sewer side, it's a little under 1% increase in costs. But remember, you have that 2.5% decreasing in volumes. The next page just gives you a graphical representation, pie charts of the existing budget and the one we're talking about going in effect in a couple weeks here. So looking over it again, here's the real nuts and bolts of it, the actual rates. You're looking at a 3.8% increase. And I'll let Drew talk about some of the stuff we're doing on the sewer side, but before he gets that, I'll just blurt out the answers. Currently, you're paying $51.65 per 1,000 cubic feet of usage. We do bill in hundreds, so it just moved the decimal place over. We're going up, proposing to go up for your consideration up to $53.63 per 1,000 cubic feet.
You still haven't gotten to the point of why, where that money's going to go. I mean, are we paying for more treatment, new equipment that has to be used to treat the water? Or
all right, let's go back a couple.
I'm just curious. You said you were going to get to it.
Well, I guess what I consider getting to it, what you consider getting to it, two different
I've been
things.
waiting.
All right, so on the Evergreen Farmington stuff, there is capital costs in there. There is increase in operating. Actually, I don't think there's an increase in operating costs on the Evergreen Farmington system, but there's capital major maintenance that we do plan to do, and it does go up. GLWA, the main drivers on theirs is increased debt service to do more capital, and also labor costs are going up on the GLWA system. All right. Like I said, we have reserves. We do major maintenance capital. Drew's getting ready to talk about that right now, what they were doing for your internal system. All right. And if his explanations fall short, just let me know. All right. There you go.
Thanks.
Yep, and we'll get rid of my computer that's not doing anything.
All right. Overall, you have in the order of 10 miles of sanitary sewer pipe within Bingham Farms. Every year we aim to do cleaning and inspection on about a tenth of it. So over the past year, we've cleaned and inspected over a mile of pipe. We have performed one pipe patch, so when we find defects in pipes, where there's holes or the joints of the pipe are offset and there's infiltration coming into the sewer, we go out and put a short length pipe rather than fully rehabilitating the entire length of pipe. So a little 4-foot repair section rather than full length. One of those over the past year, we have during our inspections have identified 18 pipe that need those type of repairs. So those are coming up. Those are in our budget for major maintenance. Also over the past year, we've performed repairs on one manhole. Additionally, I'm budgeting for another 3 to 4 manhole repairs per year going forward. We've also identified 2 locations which are beyond trenchless means for restoration, so we'll have to perform excavation spot repairs of those. That's generally when a pipe has settled so much that we have a big dip in the pipe and we can't use trenchless technologies to reinstate the hydraulic capacity of that pipe. So we have 2 dig ups coming in the future for your system. Over the past year, we've been working on design for trenchless restoration lining for 2 pipe segments on the order of 500 feet. That's part of our capital improvement reserve that we're projecting for you. Anticipate having that out for bid in the next month or so. So we'll be out doing some little bit of lining here, probably in the fall.
What's a non-trenching technique? Is that like a directional boring or something like that?
We can use that as well, but when I'm talking about trenchless technologies, usually it's like a liner inside the pipe, right?
Okay.
We invert a liner, pull it through. But slip lining is also another trenchless technology.
Okay.
Yeah, but such small diameter pipe, we wouldn't use that here.
Okay.
So we're approaching our 50-year anniversary of getting all of this installed. How does that, I remember. So how does that compare with other systems?
It's always hard going apples to apples. A lot of it is, how well did the contractor do with their installation methods? What material pipe was utilized, right? You guys have there's a lot of plastic pipe, there's concrete pipe.
How many villages that you know of, or municipalities, that have systems in, I think, pretty good shape, that have lasted this long, and are still functioning as we are?
We have several of them that have older pipes in them, But yeah, it's in relatively good condition. Yeah, I would say that. We have some of your communities up north that are a little newer and they're in poorer condition. So, again, it gets down to the contractor that was involved in the installation. That's some of it.
Now, how does this also involve with what we have going on, repairing our roads?
That's a great question. I would love to know of any road repairs that are coming up so we can make sure we're doing dig once.
Talk about it.
Yeah. Is HRC doing that for you guys?
Yes.
Okay. I know.
We've got one road project going this summer and then another one starting in probably 2 years.
Yeah, we like to know about those in advance. Usually it's like the 11th hour that someone loops us in and we're scrambling to find a contractor to replace it. If we can get involved early.
So you said there's 2 dig ups. Do you know where they are offhand?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay.
I've got it back there with me though. I can try to look it up.
Yeah, so that might also involve with what we've got, because we've got what are the 2 roads? This Shagwood and Coach Lake?
Yeah, Coach Line and, not Shagwood.
Old Stage and
Old
Stage.
Stage. And then in 1.5 to 2 years, we'll be doing Bristol Lane and tributaries.
I do know we have a repair in that area. Specifically what it is, not sure.
Brad Shepler is kind of like our main contact there.
I'll get all of them.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to water. Couple pages past this one. All right. Same idea here. The graph's a little busier because you have purchases and sales. All right. You have projected and actuals. The more jumpy lines are the actuals that cut off in 2025. Still using 5-year average again, just like we were on the sewer side. And yes, the volumes are going down based on that 5-year average. 3% in this case. All right, going to the next page. So, SACWA, that's who provides you water, right? I talk to SACWA and get preliminary rates from them. It says 6% here, but remember, those are based on a 3% reduction in sales. So it's not a 6% increase, it's something higher. I am not privy to what SACWA does. I know others, as a member of SACWA, there should be somebody here, and I think it's on your agenda tonight, attends those SACWA meetings and probably knows more about the SACWA rate changes than I do. However, I do know that they, this year, asked me, hey, we're getting ready to start requesting funding for capital. And I said, I was surprised that they hadn't been doing that already. So I was like, yeah, it's probably a good idea. Why you might have a higher than GLWA rate increase. GLWA rate increase to non-modified wholesale customers this year was 5.6%. So most customers, including SACWA, fall in that category. There's only 1 or 2 that were considered modified customers, where they modified their contract values to either because they exceeded or they have some change in their usage patterns. However, that 5.6% increase, just like on the sewer side for Great Lakes Water Authority, debt and labor were the main drivers. And they have a very long report. I would be more than happy to supply anybody with it. They can read through it at their will. All right. Our operating expenses now. See a decent increase here. Amy's going to talk about it. Just know it's going up 13.8%. Yes, that's mostly in water maintenance and engineering. And she will clue you in better than I can on why that's occurring. Reserves are also going up, 3% on capital, and then there's a large increase in major maintenance. And Amy will also talk about why that's occurring. Your non-rate revenue is not as increasing as much as it was on the sewer side, because people like paying their bills a little more on the water side. So I don't know how that happens, but it does. Overall, 9.6% increase. Go to the next page, you have a nice graph showing you where the pie charts again. You can definitely see the major maintenance on that one popping out a bit more in 2027. Overall, you're looking at a 13% increase in your water rates between current year and the upcoming year for your consideration. So you're going from $37.17 per 1,000 cubic feet up to $42. Yep. Okay, let Amy talk about all the wonderful things she's doing in water.
Hi, so WRC operates your distribution system. So that's the 13.5 miles of water main in your city. There's about 176 hydrants and 130 valves. So that's the work that we do in your system, is we keep all of those things operating and running. What we're seeing is your system is still in really good shape, as you said, but it is getting a little older, and we've started to have a couple of main breaks in your system every year. When we go out and fix a main break, so that's costly. So that's one of the drivers that you're seeing in here, is we just have to start repairing more main breaks, which adds an additional cost. Other things we're doing is we're doing more system flushing. You've got a lot of dead ends in your system, and what happens is the water kind of hangs out on there a little bit longer than we like. You start to see some chlorine residuals drop. Chlorine is a disinfectant we really like in drinking water systems. We know sometimes people don't like the smell or the taste, but what you're smelling there is a disinfectant that keeps us all really safe. So we do systematic flushing to make sure that we maintain that residual that you like to see there. The other thing that's relatively new is we were spending a lot more time with the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy. So that's who does drinking water oversight in the state of Michigan. They're supposed to do system evaluations on a 3-year rotating schedule. They've not been around for about 5 years, and they're back, and now they're trying to do them annually. So it's just a lot of effort from our teams, both in the office and in the field, just coordinating and working with them. Everything in your system is fine. It's not an indication of any problem in your system. It's just an indication of they got behind and now they're working to get caught up. And then on the major maintenance side, change is every home has a water meter in it. That's how we measure how much water each home uses, and that's how much we send accurate bills to each customer, is based on that water meter. The water meter has a device on the outside of the house. It's called R900, and what it does, there's a cable that runs from the meter in your basement out to the outside to the little device on the outside of the house. It's kind of like a tiny transmitter, and what that does is our teams kind of run around the village. We drive. And it's got a pickup machine that picks up the signal to tell us what that meter read is at each home, so we don't have to go in the homes and read meters like maybe they did in the past. The batteries in those devices are aging out, just like any electronics device. It's got an internal battery. So we're going to go around and have to change those out over the next couple of years. We'll send letters to areas when we're working. We'll send a door tag, but it's just an additional expense that we don't typically have, just based on the age of those devices. So those are kind of the 3 big drivers when you look at drinking water. Any questions? Okay.
All right, so moving on to the last page here, the combined rates. All right, we're looking at a 7.7% increase overall if you receive both water and sewer services. That's it for my presentation and the rest of the team here. Oh, and by the way, we have Alyssa, who is, if you want to introduce yourself.
Can I go on for a second?
Sure.
All right. Oh, excuse me. Hi. My name's Alyssa Tauby. I'm the community engagement representative assigned to your community from Commissioner Nash's office. I actually met with Yev a few years ago. I'm not sure if you remember, but it's good to see you. And if it's okay, I'd like to answer your question, Councilwoman, in a way that's maybe a little bit more
Sure.
have an answer. So, no, I'm sorry.
A little slap on the face.
No. I didn't mean that at all. I'm not an engineer. I'm not an accountant. I like to think that my way of helping the office and serving all of you is taking these really technical, complicated things and explaining them in a way that we can all understand. That's what I meant. So I think like a really simple way to break it down is just that, when we're using less water, the pipes that are bringing it to our house and the pipes that are taking it away from our house, those cost the exact same amount of money to operate and maintain and keep running. So if less water is passing through them, but they cost the same amount of money, we have to increase that amount per cubic foot. Does that feel more helpful a little bit?
So you're combining the actual cost of the water with the cost of moving it?
Yes.
As opposed to just separating those two cost centers?
Yes.
So we're paying more for the water even though we're using yet less of it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have mentioned that.
Because the pipes that bring it to your house are part of what you're paying for, right? You go to the kitchen and you turn the faucet on and you go to the toilet and you flush it and it goes away and you don't think about it again. That's a big part of the value. So you want the water coming in to be clean. You want the water that leaves to get clean. But don't you also want it to come into your house and leave your house?
Yeah.
And so do all your neighbors and so do all the businesses. And those pipes and the people who work on them and keep them running and bringing it to you and taking it away, those are absolutely part of the cost. So
I need to start looking more carefully because I've never seen any of those people. But I'm sure they're there. I'm not doubting you.
I promise they are.
Yes, okay.
And then I think the numbers in percentages can sound a little scary, but Raphael, do you happen to know the 7.7% rate increase, what that total per household is going to be, like per month?
Not per household, but per 1,000 cubic feet.
Okay.
So it's
So essentially, whatever we,
$6.81
a month or a
per
quarter?
per 1,000 cubic.
Per thousand. Okay. So sometimes the
And the
percentages
minimum
sound a little bit
is,
scarier to me than the actual dollar amount. Just my opinion.
The minimum bill is 2,000 cubic feet per quarter.
Okay.
So multiply that 681 by 2, and that's the smallest increase you could probably get.
Okay, so about $12 a quarter is the minimum increase they're looking at. $13 a quarter. Thank you.
Sense.
Okay. So maybe that sounds a little bit less scary than 7.7%. And if not, I apologize. But I thank you for your time. And if you have questions in the future, I'm very happy to find answers for you. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so then we have to vote on
Yes.
what they presented to us.
Yes.
What happens if we don't like it?
They turn off the water.
County says we do. It's not really much.
They all support us very, very well. Thank you.
But there are two resolutions there, one for water supplies, one for sewage disposal.
How disingenuous though. I mean,
I had to ask the
Use
question.
less and pay more.
Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
let's get on with it.
Motion for the water supply rates.
I'll make a motion to approve the Water Resource Commission rates for water for 26-27.
I'll second. Oh, go ahead. No, Eric can second it. I don't-
And roll
All right,
call.
I'm gonna do a roll call. Yeah. Deroni,
Aye.
Howard,
Hi.
Miller,
Aye.
Michigan,
Aye.
Blackburn, absent, Hageman,
Aye.
McAlexander.
Aye.
And a motion for the sewage disposal system rates.
I'll make a motion to approve the Oakland County Water Commission's sewer disposal rates for 26-27.
I'll second that motion.
All
Roll
right,
call.
Blackburn, absent, Howard,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Michigan,
Aye.
Hageman,
Aye.
McAlexander,
Aye.
Deroni.
Aye.
Now, certified delinquent water sewer accounts to the 2026 tax roll.
Yes, we have in your packet, you have a resolution to certify delinquent water and sewer rates. Council does it every year. This year, there are 5 parcels that were delinquent that need to be added to the tax roll. It's in the resolution by parcel, broken out for both water, sewer, and what the total delinquency is. Easy for me to say, total delinquency this year, total $6,510.88.
Now, do we as a village pick that up, is that it?
What we do is once you certify it, that authorizes me to go ahead and place it onto their tax bill.
Okay.
So that each parcel, along with their operating portion, if they happen to have the pump, if there's any delinquent water or sewer, that will also be on their tax bill.
So I have a motion for?
I'll make a motion to certify the delinquent water and sewer accounts on the 2026 tax roll.
I'll second
Okay. All right. Roll call. Miller.
Aye.
Sheehan.
Aye.
Hageman.
Aye.
McAlexander.
Aye.
Durrani.
Aye.
Blackburn. Absent. Howard.
Aye.
Okay, item H, certified delinquent road special assessment district 1 accounts for fiscal year 2026 tax roll.
Yes. Same concept this year is the first time that we're doing this because it is for delinquencies of parcels that did not pay the first installment of the SAD for SAD number 1. Reviewed it with both the village attorney and our auditor, and what we're doing is we're placing those delinquencies, which are 6 of them that total $3,360 on the tax bill as well to be collected with taxes for this tax roll year.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to certify the delinquent roads special assessment district number 1 accounts for fiscal year 2026.
Second.
Roll call. Durrani.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Sheehan.
Aye.
Blackburn. Hageman.
Aye.
McAlexander.
Aye.
Okay. Next on the agenda, approve funding for NXT, BYA, and the BBCC. We have a motion for this.
Yes, this is a motion. The funding has been in the budget. It's not changed. It's been the same. The total $6,490. That is a split for next receiving $4,290 in a contribution from the village. The Birmingham Youth Assistance Program $1,200, and the Birmingham Bloomfield Community Coalition for $1,000. Again, that has not changed for the last 3 years since I've been here. It's the same dollar amount.
So it's already in the budget, which
It's
has
in the
been
budget.
approved.
Yeah, I just need to approve in order for me to disperse it.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the funding for next BYA and BBC.
And do I have a second?
Second. We're good.
Only
He's
a
good
motion.
at
is
that.
needed.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Ayes, pass it. Okay, next on the agenda, grocery retail special use amendment to the commercial district C1 of zoning ordinance. Any discussion?
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Peach with Giffords Webster, the planning consultant for the village. We're going to have a hopefully brief conversation about a proposed amendment that the Planning Commission had been working on over the last few months, I believe actually over the last year and then some months. We've been working with the property owner at the corner of Telegraph Road and 13 Mile, so just adjacent to here actually, who has some interest with grocery store retail as a use for that parcel. The current zoning for the land is the C1 district, which does not permit grocery store retail or retail. But if you're familiar with the zoning map, there's a layer for the overlay, which allows for retail, and that's more of your frontage commercial businesses. That does allow for retail, but it's an overlay on top of the C1 district, which does not allow for retail. So in working with the property owner, we met and we looked at what the current ordinance says. Again, it doesn't allow for retail. And we also look towards the master plan for some guidance. And so with the master plan currently in place, it encourages flexibility in terms of the land use. And so, again, working with the Planning Commission over the past many months, we've had discussions. A public hearing was held, and on May 11th of last month, the Planning Commission finally came to a consensus to approve some proposed language that would allow for grocery store retail in this at that particular site. So I'm going to fast forward to where the amendments are proposed. We're starting with section 2.2 with definitions. So there is an existing definition for retail, and it reads uses including clothing shops, shoe shops, flower shops, office supply and stationery shops, gift shops, and similar uses. But that's as far as it goes. And so the proposal is that underneath that definition, the first defined term is to actually introduce the grocery store retail. And so we have the proposed definition as being a type of retail store that A, does not exceed 30,000 gross square feet, B, that sells food and beverages primarily for off-premises consumption, but which may sell assorted goods and products for household use or personal grooming for the day-to-day maintenance of personal health, and C, has a minimum floor area of 2,000 square feet dedicated to the sale of prepared foods and fresh meat, fruits, and vegetables. A grocery store retail store establishment may also offer food and beverages in disposable containers or wrappers for consumption on the premises, provided that any indoor seating for such use or for such purposes would not exceed 20 persons. Moving on to the second term defined under retail, we have small box discount store retail, and this is defined as a type of retail store with a floor area ranging from 5,000 to 15,000 square feet that offers for sale an assortment of physical goods, products, or merchandise directly to the consumer, including food and beverages for off-premises consumption, household products, personal grooming and health products, and other consumer goods, with the majority of items being offered for sale at lower than the typical market price. And so the reason why we have these two particular definitions defined under retail is because with the conversation, the master plan speaks in such a way that it encourages more of a high-end retail component. And so what we've learned over the last few months is that the type of retail that has becoming more problematic nationwide is with dollar stores. And so we wanted to find a way to implement that into the language that's not the intention for what grocery store retail would be. And so that's why grocery store retail as a defined term is proposed with such detail. And so we'll get into a little bit more of those nuances as we go through the presentation. But we also wanted to define small box discount store retail as well, because further below our proposed ordinance language states that small box discount store retail is not considered grocery store retail. So it's a way to kind of protect any future use as being a dollar store, which is not the intention of this proposed amendment.
So that is to disallow that?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
To disallow it, you have to define it.
Right, you have to define, but do you say it's disallowed in the
Yes.
master plan?
Well, it's in the proposed language, it'll say, and we'll go through that in just a second, yeah.
So we have to say what's disallowed versus what we allow.
Both.
No, it's to eliminate having the small box discount store included in the grocery store retail as a umbrella term. If we didn't include it and specifically say that this is not included in that definition, then somebody could make an argument that, well, I'm selling everything you're saying here, it's just at a discount.
Okay. Now, does this apply for all C1 district?
Yes.
So in theory, they could put a grocery store somewhere else.
Well,
C1.
So there are some more details that we'll get into that limits the location of where. Yep.
I have just one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is Aldi's right in the middle? Aldi's.
Is Aldi's in the middle?
Yeah.
Store,
Is it?
the retailer.
Does it fall under grocery store retail, or does it fall under small box, lower than typical market price? Where does Aldi?
I believe Aldi would fall under the grocery store retail. I don't have a whole lot of specifics, but it does have a comparable size footprint for what's being proposed or could be proposed at the future site.
Okay.
So we'll have more conversations on that because I did do some research that included Aldi as as a component of the research. So moving on to the defined terms under section 2.2, we want to define usable floor area. A lot of the conversation with the Planning Commission was as it relates to parking requirements, whether or not to maintain a requirement for gross floor area, or if it would be appropriate to establish a usable floor area. So the difference between the two is the gross floor area encompasses the whole gross floor of the building, whereas the usable floor area allows for some flexibility. It actually ends up being somewhat of a reduction in terms of the parking requirement. So within that definition, we propose it to say, for the use with table 5.A only, which again is the parking requirements of the ordinance, is the lesser of 80% of gross floor area, or gross floor area excluding stairwells, elevator shafts, toilet rooms, mechanical and electrical equipment rooms, janitor closet, utilities, vaults, walk-in coolers and freezers, dressing, changing rooms, locker rooms, employee break rooms, demonstration rooms, attics, unenclosed porches, public corridors, and locker rooms, employee break rooms. Sorry, I got lost in my reading of that. But you get the idea. So it's eliminating areas that are more secondary to the primary use. And then we also want to propose a definition for use, because this will be ultimately a special land use requirement, so that if this passes and we have an applicant propose the type of use, we want to make sure that we have that term defined in the ordinance. So use is the purpose for which land or premises or a building thereon is designed, arranged, or intended, or for which is occupied or maintained, let, or leased. So those are establishing some definitions for what's being proposed in terms of this ordinance amendment. Moving on to section 3.8.c, this is the special land use in the C1 district. So currently the C1 district, I think earlier in my memo I show some of the uses that are permitted, but restaurants is not one of them. And so as you can see currently, restaurants is a special land use within that district, so it has to go through certain criteria, and that section of the ordinance is also listed and attached for your reference as well. So we are proposing that it wouldn't be a use that's by right within the C1 district, but it would be per the special land use guidelines of the ordinance. So that's why you see it here as grocery store retail, section 4.13. And so then we would establish a new section, 4.13, that gives all of the guidelines for grocery store retail as a considered special land use in the C1 district. And so that language would say, grocery store retail uses may be permitted by special land use in the C1 district, and the following standards apply. So the first one would be for grocery store retail uses shall be located within 300 feet of Telegraph Road. So that's kind of the first restriction in terms of the location within the village. The second would be grocery store retail uses shall be comprised of high-quality design and materials, including building and landscaping materials. C, drive-through facilities are not permitted. D, outdoor storage is not permitted. E, delivery vehicles shall not be located in the front of any establishment. F, uses that fall in the category of small box discount store retail are not considered grocery store retail. And G, conditions of the special use permit may also address hours of operation, delivery times, and waste removal, as well as any other conditions that may be needed to mitigate anticipated impacts from such use on neighboring properties or the village character. And so with the special land use process, that requires a site plan review that goes before the Planning Commission. And so it's those criteria that were just mentioned that the Planning Commission would review and take into consideration when addressing the special land use. So it wouldn't just be to look at, the proximity within the village. It would be looking at details such as, the drive-through that's not allowed, outdoor storage is not allowed, and then they can get into more of the details of the design, the materials that are used or proposed for the actual facility itself. So moving on to section 5.8, the parking, off-street parking facilities. This is the table that's currently in the ordinance. I did want to call out, there's a quick little amendment just for clarification under assembly halls, exhibit halls, that we are adding the gross floor area in there just to be consistent with all of the other uses. And so then in red text, we added in the retail uses because that, even though it's retail is defined in the ordinance and is allowed in the overlay district, it's not, doesn't have a parking requirement associated with it. So we're proposing one space for each 250 square feet of usable floor area. So again, looking at usable floor area, when an application is submitted to us, we'll do an analysis and review that will take out the portions that are not the primary use. Or if we don't receive that usable floor area analysis, then it's the 80%. So those are kind of used one and the same. That 80% usually covers about what it would be for eliminating the non-usable floor areas. Moving on to an additional amendment into the parking section, we are proposing to add B for required facilities, and this is just to allow for some flexibility in the parking requirements, where if a parking study is done, there can be consideration by the Planning Commission to allow for a certain reduction in parking spaces.
Are these parking spaces mandatory or up to one parking space per 250 square feet?
That would be mandatory.
It's a minimum, not a maximum.
Why do we have that? Why do we have to have so much parking?
Well, so if it was gross floor area, it would be a larger requirement. And so by adding looking at usable floor area, that allows for a certain bit of flexibility. And so it actually benefits the applicant to show and demonstrate that they don't need all of that extra parking, because someone who's there to work doesn't necessarily have more of an impact on the employee room, or someone that goes there to shop doesn't have any impact on, the employee room or whatnot. So it's to take out the extra pieces.
But I think, Jim, your question is why have a minimum? Because the problem is if you don't have enough spaces, then you're going to create traffic and parking next door and other issues of people not having enough spaces, right?
And oftentimes we find ourselves being overparked, and so this, by applying usable floor area, it allows for a certain use, that being in the grocery store realm, that it allows more flexibility for an appropriate number of parking spaces that would be required. So that's why we say if that's still excessive, then there's the section B there that allows for additional reductions if a parking study is submitted to prove that they wouldn't need as many parking spaces as the minimum requires. Does that make sense? Or help?
I didn't even follow what that last point was. If the grocery store doesn't want to have 75 parking spaces, they only want to have 30.
Right. Then we say you don't meet the ordinance, you haven't met the standard, the minimum standard. There is a section that we're proposing under B here that for required parking facilities, I can read it for you, that says, the amount of off-street parking facilities required shall be determined in accordance with table 5.8A. And again, that's the usable floor area for grocery store retail. However, the required number of spaces may be reduced if the property owner submits a parking demand study or other documentation to the satisfaction of the approving authority, demonstrating that adequate parking will be provided by a lower ratio. Hours of operation, demonstrated need at similar establishments, shared parking arrangements, proximity to public transit, or other factors affecting parking demand may be considered in approving a reduction. So that's what that section is allowing, even more flexibility in addition to the usable floor area minimum requirement. There's a second piece to the proposed amendments, and that's under the special land uses section of the ordinance, because again, any grocery store retail would require a special land use approval from the Planning Commission and the Village Council. So the section 6.2 copies everything that's currently in that section of the ordinance, and then the red text begins under 6.2B3. And that's regarding the Planning Commission's approval. The Village Council's decision shall be based on the review and approval standards in subsection C and shall be incorporated in a written statement of findings and conclusions to be incorporated into the Village Council meeting minutes and approved by the Village Council at the time of the decision or the next regular meeting. So again, the whole process requires both Planning Commission approval and the Village Council's approval for a special land use. Moving on to
making the assumption that some kind of study has been done as far as a particular retail and or a grocery store as to, okay, from this time to this time we have X amount of cars versus this kind of floor space, and from let's say 11 to 12 we have this many, 12 to 1 we have this many. Is that kind of where that 250 square foot kind of came from?
That plays into it a little bit, but it's mostly just So for example, the particular facility that we've met with the property owner on is entertaining a two-level grocery store. And on the main floor would be where the grocery footprint is. So that would be where the retail sales floor would be. Whereas instead of having like a basement or a, different section of a first floor building, they are proposing more of the back of house operations and more of the employee areas on the second floor. And so by having usable floor area, that allows for more flexibility in terms of not having as much of an impact for gross floor area. Whereas, for example, on the first floor, there would be roughly 15,000 square feet of retail or the grocery store. On the second floor, it's more secondary to what the primary use is. Does that?
D, were you asking more about like why 250, why not 220 or 280?
Yeah. Well, then we just learned something new too. Which is kind of interesting in that you almost can't have a basement in Bingham Farms.
Right.
Water table. But now we have a second floor, and I noticed one thing in here too that we're suggesting it's no longer 18-foot height for the building, but we're going more to 30-foot or 36-foot.
Yeah, that's a good point. So 30 feet is currently allowed within the school district, a height limitation of 30 feet, whereas in the frontage overlay district, it's only the 18 feet. Right, and so that's why, given the context of what's envisioned for this site, that's the reason why we wouldn't be extending up the frontage overlay district, is because it has a more restrictive height limitation, whereas by just allowing it for the current C1, what's being proposed would fit within that height restriction without any changes.
The other thing too would be waste management. I know that grocery stores are going to have an immense amount of waste. Is that going to be in a confined area so that you don't have any vermin or anything else showing up? Because the village is a lot of extra four-legged people.
We already have, from my understanding, a fairly robust piece of ordinance about the standards for the commercial district and their garbage disposal facilities. So that's not even part of this amendment that we're discussing.
Because I know some places will keep it literally in a locked garage, and until it's time for it to go away.
Where would we find that, the verbiage for that?
I don't remember the chapters of the ordinance by heart, so I'll have to look it up for you.
It's in the general code, though, right? Yeah. So we haven't had a full site plan review up to this point, so these are just kind of more 30,000-foot view of the site, that we do have some information about what's envisioned for the site as grocery store. So I just want to get through the last part of the special land use proposed amendments. So under section D for conditions, it states that if approved, the special land use shall be subject to conditions, restrictions, and safeguards as are authorized by law and deemed to be necessary by the village council, including the following 4 items. Number 1, the conditions to ensure that public services and facilities affected by the proposed land use will be capable of accommodating increased service and facility loads caused by the land use. That goes to your point, Commissioner Hageman, of verifying that there's no additional impact, or that the additional impact could be addressed by the city through permitting. Number 2, conditions to protect the natural environment and conserve natural resources and energy. Number 3, conditions to ensure compatibility with adjacent uses of land. And 4, any other condition which the village council deems necessary to meet the standards established in subsection C of this section. And then lastly, there was quite a bit of conversation with the Planning Commission discussing how the amendments to an approved special land use would take place. And so that's all the language that's proposed under F, which states, once a permit for a special land use has been granted, as to any parcel of land, no change in that use may be made, nor may any addition to or exterior change of the building or improvements on the parcel of land take place until a new request for approval has been filed with the village council and the village council has approved the request for change. Minor changes to a building's exterior or site improvements may be approved administratively by the village manager or by zoning compliance review by the village planner. Approval of changes to the exterior of a building, structure, and/or site is authorized in those instances where the proposed work is minor in nature, will have a minimal impact on the visual appearance of the building, structure, and/or site, and provided the materials used are of equal or higher quality than those previously approved. Examples of changes requiring only administrative approval include painting, installation, and/or removal of doors and/or windows, lighting, signs, landscaping, roofing material, dumpster enclosures, fences and screen walls, mechanical equipment and screening, changes in the public right-of-way, and maintenance or repair of buildings or structures. In instances where a change in the special land use permit would also require site plan review under section 6.1, such site plan review shall be accomplished in accordance with the provisions of section 6.1. So all that to say that there's not a whole lot of change that's proposed with that section, but the Planning Commission felt it would be good to tidy up and tighten up loose ends of that section so as to say that there is a certain level of administrative review that could take place if there was some minor changes proposed to an approved special land use. But it's strictly to say that if there's a proposed change of the use from grocery store retail to something else that's permitted in the ordinance, that would have to go through the whole process again. And it wouldn't, there was no administrative consideration for something like that. So, with all that said, I want to backtrack a little bit because the Planning Commission did approve the proposed amendment subject to Giffords-Webster looking at and researching a little bit more the square footage of what would be appropriate to say that a grocery store retail in the village should provide as fresh fruit and vegetables or perishable items. And so I just wanted to address that for the record on page 3 under previous action and recommendation. Upon approval, the Planning Commission asked for additional research pertaining to the minimum floor area that grocery stores designate to fresh fruit and prepared goods. The proposed definition of grocery store retail states that a minimum of 2,000 square feet must be dedicated to fresh food. Based on the relatively small scale size of grocery stores, up to 30,000 square feet per the definition, we find that 2,000 square feet is a reasonable standard to allocate towards fresh food such as fruits, vegetables, and other produce items. Our research also found that other categories may be also considered as fresh, including dairy, breads, meats, and deli, and other perishable items. So considering, again, I use 15,000 as kind of a benchmark just because that's the number that we've been discussing. With a 15,000 square foot grocery store, 2,000 square feet is approximately 13% of the store dedicated to fresh foods. In our research, we found comparable sized grocery stores such as Aldi to dedicate up to 35% of fresh food. Using a 15,000 square foot store as an example, 35% would amount to 5,250 square feet, which just is comparable to an NBA basketball court. Therefore, in search of a middle ground, it may be reasonable to suggest a minimum of about 3,600 square feet towards fresh food as a minimum requirement for when we have a proposed grocery store retail before us for review. If establishing the fresh food floor area as a minimum percentage of the overall grocery store is preferred, using a 15,000 square foot store as an example would result in, if you're looking at your packet, I have it broken down from 15, 20, 30, and 35%, what those would amount to in terms of square footage. So it's not to say that what we have at this particular site would be a 15,000 square foot store or a 30,000 square foot store. It's just to give you some sense for if you chose to go the route of a percentage, what that square footage would look like with a 15,000 square foot store. So last point, to take one takeaway of our research is that companies in the grocery store industry operate on narrow profit margins which require a certain level of flexibility when planning the layout of the grocery store's floor area. So considering all elements of a grocery store that can be classified as fresh and the desires to strike a balance with an area standard of up to 35% for comparable size stores, approximately 20% or 3,000 square feet would seem to be a reasonable standard to apply for grocery store retail uses in Bingham Farms. And so as I was going through these numbers and figures and calculations a little bit more, I want to note that if the village council was to focus more on a percentage than a certain benchmark of a square footage being minimum for fresh fruits and vegetables, that the percentage is based on the retail floor area of the store. Because again, if we think of what's before us, or in terms of concept, the 2-story, first floor being the 15,000 square foot. If we say, I just want to make sure that if the standards that are being set within the ordinance don't specify that what we mean to apply the percentage to as being the retail floor, then that would account for a 30,000 square foot building potentially. So I don't know if I'm explaining myself correctly, but it's to say that if you go off of a percentage, we want to take the percentage based on the retail sales floor and nothing more. And so the one example that we found most applicable to this study and analysis was in fact Aldi. So at approximately around 15,000 square feet, that's where it states that a lot of Aldis or some Aldis require up to 35% of their 15,000 square foot, roughly approximate that area, to be fresh fruits and vegetables.
Right, Aldi.
That was the only one that we found that was in close comparison.
That's the only one that my neighbors that I had this discussion about did not mention they would want.
But again, it's just the size. So it could have been Trader Joe or any other comparable type of grocery store retail, but it was just that one.
It's going to be upscale. It's an upscale area. It's an upscale
As soon as we can get up there, I'd love to answer questions.
Well, but yes, but the language here is generic, and I understand there is an idea at hand, but 10 years from now, or things can change.
Yeah, for as much as we had a long conversation with the Planning Commission, many months. Again, I believe it's over a year. That was a lot of the basis of the conversation was the type of grocery store retail. How can we formulate within the ordinance to encourage the type of use that's desired by the community, that being less of big box retail, but more of intricate, localized.
I have a question. If the upstairs is going to be for storage and food and employee use, so not consumer use, and the lower level has 20% of the floor space for fresh food, and there's spoilage of fresh food. So if there's spoiled lettuce, do you have to take the lettuce upstairs until the dumpster comes around? And I mean, how do you navigate?
That's a great question. Those are more logistical for the.
but that's
Let me clarify.
Okay. Well, is there an example of some operation that is working with this 2-story concept?
I don't have the full understanding of that, so
all right. Well, then
to that, I'd say nationwide, there's all kinds of everything. Like you go to cities, you go to other places, there's all kinds of things. Like people try all kinds of stuff. So I've seen 2-story things around. I want to ask more about the language and what's here.
Yeah.
And I guess I want to make sure that what I'm hearing, if I boil this down to like the FCO, the frontage stuff, we have additional language that allows more there that C1 does not. And what I'm hearing is that this is similar to this. This wasn't included in the FCO, and this is just expanding of some of the kinds of things that the FCO would allow, and also some more language actually trying to limit it and give it more just guidelines and rules of what it could be.
Yeah. Yes,
Does that
exactly.
kind of summarize?
Yeah, so in short, we have the C1 commercial is what the zoning is along Telegraph Road on the east side.
Yep.
And then in a certain area, you have the frontage overlay district, which encourages more of the frontage to be used as retail. And maybe Evgeny can speak a little bit more on the history of the formulation of that. But the heights are restricted. So there's a little bit more restrictions to make them more smaller footprints and to be more applicable to what you see from Telegraph Road and not necessarily large commercial establishments. So that overlay district ends one parcel to the south. And so it doesn't cover where the subject site is. And so the proposal is to leave it as C1, but allow for a special land use with the new definition of grocery store retail, with all of the limitations and standards that we've introduced within the proposed language.
Makes sense.
Okay.
To add background and history to this case that Eric was referencing, the reason this is the avenue that we are going with is, as has been mentioned, there is that height restriction in the frontage commercial overlay. Right. So originally, the request came to us as a
could we extend frontage commercial overlay? And the answer was, well, yeah, we feasibly could, but then you would have to go in front of the ZBA to get a variance for your two-story building. But you're the ones that requested the SEO being extended, so you're not really gonna be able to argue that it's not self-inflicted. So
Right, I understand.
adding
Yep.
special use for the C1 was the more amenable avenue because we're not adding it as a principal use, it's a special use. That's why it has to go through all that extra approval before it's even considered. But again, the operator that was talking to Mr. Nager about that space,
Makes sense.
yeah, was looking for that specific building design, so that's why the height was a bit relevant variable.
Yep, I'm good, thanks.
So how tall is the building that's there right now? It's at least 3 stories.
It's 2.
Doesn't it have underground parking or
It's full parking. Well, you can let Mr. Nager answer that when he goes up to the podium.
So if there's any other questions for like the proposed language, I can answer those now, or we can speak with the property owner, but I'll stand by if there's anything I can help clarify.
Good evening, everybody. Brian Nager with Nager Companies. Thank you guys for spending your evening here, and it's getting late, I know. I will try to be brief and try to simplify this because my head's spinning a little bit after all the language and the red lines, and I've been working on this for a year and a half. So I feel like it was just all regurgitated in about 10 minutes, right? So I think in order to try to simplify this for everybody, the need is brought about because the existing language for a retail definition was a little bit old, maybe archaic, and didn't really define, grocery stores and some of these items. I think the previous language was, shoe shine and flower shop. It was really old. So to try to, get some of these uses, we went through this whole study and tried to redefine what a grocery store is, what a retail grocery store is. And, coming to the definition that we've come to, the important things I want to hit on for everyone here tonight is that whatever language that we're adopting tonight does not allow for a grocery store. What it allows for is for us to consider approving a grocery store, because we would still need to come forth to Planning Commission with a special land use and a plan that talks about, building heights, brick versus EFS, landscaping, everything else under the sun, trash. So we still would have to go through that whole process. The idea of what we wanted to do tonight to simplify is to bring the language in that would even allow us to come forth with the special land use. So in a nutshell, that's what we're doing. This is no approval. We cannot put a grocery store, yet. We would hope to bring one forth, and we did have a user. There is still some interest there. The reason why we wanted to keep the language a little more simple and a little more inclusive, some of the things that would affect any grocery store, whether it was, I'll throw out names, a Market Square, a Plum Market, a Papa Joe's. I don't want to say the word Aldi here because it doesn't seem like anyone wants them, but even a Trader Joe's or whatever. We want to make it as open and inclusive as we can to try to attract one of them. And again, whether it's a single story or a 2-story, there are restrictions. So by putting the restriction of 30,000, that's what we came up with amongst us in the planning, and we discussed it thoroughly. This would exclude your big box stores like 100,000 square foot Meijer or something like that. I also, I'm pretty sure, and maybe you can confirm this, but the way the language is written, I do believe we're the only piece in the village that can accommodate this use, correct?
As of right now.
As of right now. So this is pretty much the only piece that could accommodate this. So we don't have to worry about, another property being torn down, and it just won't meet the requirements. It won't have the zoning and it won't meet the requirements. So that was the idea of what we wanted to do. And I think that, through all the back and forth and language and everything else, I think that's what we've accomplished. So the idea would be to pass language that would allow us to bring this type of development or user for you guys to consider, in the future. Yeah.
What businesses have you approached that might find this an attractive site?
Several. I can't, confidentiality, I can't disclose all of them, but several. And we've also talked about this, the idea here is that difficult piece, the way office is trending these days. We have an office building there.
Mm-hmm.
It's there, it serves a purpose, but this would be a far higher and better use of the place. And, I think it's been well received so far, and hopefully you guys feel the same.
Yeah, I have to admit, the neighbors that I've spoken with said that they would go for, the homemade soups.
Right.
Or all the special meats and the upscale, the fresh vegetables. But they have in mind that they shop now at Plum and Nino's.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they're envisioning
Right.
when they think they're going to this store. So coming in with the discount store is not going to cut it.
Well, it's going to have requirements, and it'll have to go through a special land use as well. So there will be, guidelines, and that's what we're trying to provide. We know what everybody wants. We know what everyone wants. We're going to try to deliver, right? So we just need the opportunity to be able to deliver. And we want it to be well received by the community, by you folks, and we want to row, with the current.
You want to make money.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't hand me that. You want to make money. You're going to go with whoever's going to pay the most.
We've owned the community for 10 plus years, and
Yeah.
we're not making a whole lot of money there now. I can promise you
You're not
that.
making any money.
So, any other questions?
I've got actually two questions for Mike. Could this be considered spot zoning? Because we have taken a certain section of the C1 district and said, okay, this is a possibility you put in there.
We're not taking a section of the C1 district, we're adding this to the entire C1 district.
Okay, so that goes back to my original question. In something like this, they could put it anywhere in C1.
Not quite, that's why we have the restrictions of you have to be close, within 300 feet of telegraph, you have to be under a certain square footage, you have to be, everything that Eric read out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, there are other properties in the C1 district that would have that allowance for the special use, but that doesn't mean that their property is a viable candidate for doing something like this, just by virtue of the restrictions we put in the language.
Okay, the second question is, I'm sure you've looked this over. Or have you? Or is this the first time you've seen it?
I have not studied this language. I wasn't aware that I was going to be rendering an opinion on it tonight. Mary Kacharik, my partner, worked on it probably at the beginning, but I haven't been involved in the planning commission process or anything.
Is that something we should look at? Yeah, then go over the language just to be safe.
Of course.
Who crafted all the language? Between you and the city.
Give us Webster.
None.
Like Mike was saying, there was some oversight, legal oversight early on, so not a whole lot has changed. So in terms of kind of the underlying draft language.
But I guess DEU has to Mike reviewed it. Has your office has reviewed?
My partner May, I don't want to speak for her. She was working on this with them much earlier on.
Yeah, right. We have gone through it at length, I can promise you that. Yeah. And again, we've been working on this for a year and a half, right? We're just eager to try to present a plan to you, but we can't, we need the language to be able to come forth, and we would actually have to go to the planning commission first.
I think we need more details. We really don't have
About what?
about what he's building.
Yeah, but that's not what we're doing. We're not building anything.
This all has to do with what is allowable in that particular piece of property.
And then when he gets something to propose, then he comes back to the planning commission and then us.
Right.
Like you said, he can't.
Store is
You have to
unknown.
meet with the language we have in this.
It's just a shame to go too far because we want to make sure that we're in sync.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, we can't even get to step one right now because the whatever language we propose here has to be approved before we could go back to planning with a real plan.
But it sounds like you must be pretty confident that this is, because this is very specific language to the use you envision. So you must have a reasonably good confidence level who you are, that you're going to put a grocery store there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the object, is to put the grocery store there. Which one, I can't say for sure right now, but yeah, we want to put, a quality grocery store here, and
Well, Eric said one store actually fit, and that was Aldi.
well, I don't know where that keeps coming up, but the actual
No,
primary,
just repeating
the
what
actual
you said.
primary user that we're focused on is Market Square.
Like, we know that.
But everybody's known that,
Right.
Yeah,
that's not, we can't just tailor it just for them, because if they decide that they don't want to do the story, we have to have other options as well. So everything has sort of been written around that, but, yeah.
So you may have said this, but what does prevent, because Brian said he didn't make much money on an office building. Maybe all the other office building owners are going, well, we don't either. We don't make much money on an office building either. So in 10 years, all the office buildings on Telegraph Road were torn down, and we have grocery stores and electronic stores and who knows what stores. I mean,
They would have
is that
to.
in here as well? I mean, I was,
Again, anybody else trying to do something like you're describing would have to go through the special use permission. Let's take, for example, so 90%, if we discount Jamestown across 13 mile from here, all the commercial one is basically 13 mile and south to the edge of the village. If you look on the map, those are huge, huge office lot parcels.
No, but
So in order for them to consider something like that in a profitable manner, they would have to then split those parcels into smaller parcels.
how about all
So
the office
they would
buildings?
have to go through so many hoops and so many levels of approval before they even consider that the resulting little parcel would be in fitting with what we're talking about here anyways.
Okay, I guess I'm thinking more of the ones between 13 and 14 mile.
They're not.
Those are a different district. That's
They're not
professional
similar.
services that does not have this whatsoever.
Okay. Thank you. That explains it.
Yep. Yeah, the only north of 13 buildings that are in the commercial district are the ones literally across from this building.
Okay.
They're owned by the same landlord, and they seem to be quite happy on keeping.
Yeah, good.
No, that explains it.
And just to give a little bit more color on size, because I know that kept coming up, 30,000 was a max, and we came up with that because the footprint of the building was about 15,000 to accommodate with a reasonable amount of parking, 15,000, and if you doubled that, let's say for, second floor, which would be commissary, maybe baking, maybe meat cutting, maybe whatever those services are that are non-retail, like back end of the store, that would be 30,000. So that would be the max that you could probably fit on that site anyway. But that being said, somebody may choose to do a store there that's 10,000 total, single store, right? So if this is where we got a little bit of pushback with the parking and some of the other stuff about the fresh, like, let's say we said, okay, we're gonna make it 5,000 square feet, fresh food. Well, we're gonna be coming back again saying, well, they're only gonna build 8,000 square feet and the definition doesn't work, and we gotta come back 4 more meetings to fix the language, and it's like, we're just trying to make the language enough that we can accommodate more than one single user. We wanna be able to accommodate a grocery store.
Yeah, I think
30,000 square feet or less.
the percentage
You
makes.
accommodate 2 different users under this definition.
Could we have
two stores?
Would they be in the same building, connected, separate? I mean, if there was separate buildings, they'd have different setbacks, and that'd probably be a question to go back with an architect, an engineer, planning commission, site plan approval, special land use, like all those things have to be addressed. So I'm not the authority to answer that. But there would be a lengthy process and discussion to be able to do that.
Because again, this is a special land use, not a principal permitted use. So if the scenario you're describing were to occur, that second user that comes in, or if they were to come in simultaneously, let's say as a joint venture, they would both have to go before the planning commission and the council to receive their special land use permit or approval for their special land use. That said, I would imagine that 2 operators in a similar vein would probably not want to share the same building to begin with.
Wendy's and Tim Hortons.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
That's not retail.
I know, but there's I'm just like
There's
there's
an example. Yeah.
Tomatoes Pizza and Papa Joe's.
Mhm.
So yes, but it all has to come back. This is established. I think this is established a more open, more updated language of what could go there, and they still have to come back to us to get approval.
That's right.
So
Lots of work left.
right.
Lots of work.
Yeah, I think it's.
Excuse me, I'm David Plunkett, I'm counsel for major companies. I think everybody knows this. There are a lot of questions about whether another, user came in and that sort of thing. The special land use process allows the village to consider the character, the appropriateness, other uses. So it's really broad enough to address pretty much all those concerns. Those are pretty broad terms that allow you to say, well, there's a grocery store here, we don't really need another one here, and that sort of thing. So I think many of these concerns will be specifically addressed in that process.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
I think the one thing that we would hope for a little bit of direction from the village council tonight would be in regards to the size, the minimum size of fresh fruits and vegetables that would be required for a grocery store use. Because when we spoke with the planning commission initially, it was 1,000 square feet dedicated.
500. And
Was it 500? Okay.
And then we went to 2, and it was like, that's, and they're getting kind of thrown into this, like, at the tail end of it, so it's almost not fair to make them.
I have no idea how to
make it.
Well, I think percentage makes sense, like, because if it's, whether it's 10, 15, 20, 30.
It's based on the size of
It's
what's
based on the-
proposed overall.
That requires research.
Well,
he did the research.
You called Nino's and you called Papa Joe's and you called Market Fresh and you got what their store plans are and their layout.
Well, we researched online, and that's where, so not to throw everybody off with Aldi, but when we did a research.
But you're going to anyway. But that's okay.
Keep going.
I'm just saying that when we took the 15,000 square feet and the 30,000 square feet of what we're looking at in terms of this conceptual, the one store footprint that matched those dimensions was an Aldi. As part of the research and the data that we've come across. Like, for example, included in that research was also Kroger and a few other national brands. But those are all footprints that are much larger, so they weren't comparable to the discussion for what we're dealing with here. So that's where the 35% comes from a similar type of store to establish what could possibly be dedicated towards fresh fruits and vegetables for this particular ordinance. So the numbers that I provided on page 4, 15% of a 15,000 square foot building is 2,250 square feet. So given our conversations with the Planning Commission, they had asked for us to consider looking at what would be comparable. And so what they approved was 2,000 square feet. That's what's currently written in the proposed text. So upon doing my research, I found that looking at more of a happy medium would be approximately 20%, which is about 3,000 square feet. So if the Planning Commission was to say, well, we request 3,000 square feet to be the minimum standard for fresh fruits and vegetables, that would amount to 20%. So I think that that's why doing that kind of analysis between base square footage and percentage hopefully is helpful to you, but that it might be more appropriate to look at it in terms of a percentage so that you're not locking in, a smaller square foot facility by having an over amount of fresh fruit and vegetables.
The definition of that fresh fruit and vegetables also includes prepared foods.
Yes.
In refrigerators. And so.
But even like breads, perishable items, basically anything that can have an expiration date would be considered fresh. So I think the first thought is your produce aisles,
But not fruits and vegetables. That would be fresh food, but not fruits and vegetables.
Fruits and vegetables, but then fresh.
Not bread.
No,
but you can look at it in terms of perishable items. So, if the argument was made that you have a certain size for produce, for just fresh fruits and vegetables, well, if you need to maximize your 20%, you can include potentially other perishable items like breads.
Maybe that's what should have been included in this.
It's here.
It's here.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's there.
Yeah. I guess what's the underlying intention for
the fresh aspect of this.
It all plays into the type of grocery store element and the discussion with restricting the small box retail.
Okay.
But I think we've covered that in the fact that we are not allowing dollar stores and discount retailers. So again, I think by imposing, I feel like it's like a negotiation of, do we want this percent? Well, let's take a higher percentage, but all we're gonna do is potentially put up a roadblock for ourselves. This is not a consideration for a Dollar General or a Five Below. Those are excluded.
Right.
So again, I think we're only gonna be handcuffing ourselves to, or potentially creating another problem going forward. I mean, would we even be able to come through and get a variance on that if we had to? If it, you know, say you had Trader Joe's in here, but they only had 1,800 square feet of fresh, you know, now did we just paint ourselves into a corner?
So that's kind of the.
Yeah, and I think.
I agree with that logic that
I do too.
restricting ourselves by increasing the number of square foot, when planning commission already said 2,000 is fine, why not just go with?
Right, so they just asked that we do a little bit more research to give the village council some better context. And so those were just my findings with what I was able to find, that it seems as though similar size concepts require up to approximately 35% of their floor area. But that's, again, it's.
Yes, and again, it just became arbitrary because we started at 500, then it went to 1,000, and they said 2,000. And we're, right. You know, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, like the new Plum Market on Maple is loaded with wine space, tons and tons of wine space.
That's
You can't.
perishable.
What sells in this area, you know, they're going to provide to the market, they're market driven.
There's also a little like restaurant type food.
Yes.
You know, some of them have like a little place where you can
As
get
you sit down in the
sandwiches.
front and coffee.
Coffee.
And that's in there.
And we had to sort of craft some language in there to account for that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what this
Right.
community is looking for.
Absolutely, and so we should make it easier than
We
harder.
want to go with the current.
Yeah.
Yes.
We don't want to roll
Right.
upstream. We're receptive to what.
Yeah.
Well, I guess from that perspective, that they already approved 2,000, and you gut checked it to make sure that it's reasonable. It's reasonable. We can just stick with the 2,000. Also,
I
Just
think
let them
sticking
go.
with the 2,000 is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just to give you
I'm
more.
looking forward to try to get back here to you guys with this wonderful user.
Yeah.
You know, that's going to spend some money on architectural plans, engineering, and we
Yes.
hope to get to that point to bring it back to you. Right.
Is there a question about the liquor aspect of this?
Is there? I'm sure that's a separate license that they need to have to be able to.
That doesn't have much to do with us because those are state issued licenses, so they would have to be between the operator.
Okay, but nothing in this language is at all prohibitive.
But that's dictated to by the community that they're in. There can be so many licenses
yeah,
in each
exactly.
community. So it's not just the state,
Mhm.
you know, there are other factors that go into that too.
But it's the state.
And I'm not adverse to it. Don't get me wrong.
Most of those
Yeah.
stores have, beer, wine, liquor.
Yeah.
All of them, that you've mentioned,
Yeah.
including Aldi's.
Unless
They call it beer or wine.
something against it.
So are
Okay.
we here then to put a particular
Yeah,
percentage
What are we
list
doing here?
and or
No, I think we leave it to 2,000
Yeah,
minimum?
you know, whether it's 2,000,
But it's a
2,200,
2,000 versus
1,800.
percentage.
which is
Yeah.
around a 15% percentage.
It's a 13 is what he said.
Well, actually, it's 15% is 2250.
Right.
But,
Right. No, so
so do we want a fixed number or percentage?
I like percentages, but the fact that the planning commission already worked all the time on the 2,000, and that's a smaller percentage, just let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
again, they
I
based
mean,
it
it's-
on
All right.
1,500 or 15,000 square feet. I know.
You ready?
Excuse me, and just one correction. I believe the way that the amendment is written says 2,000 square feet of floor area, and I think consistent with what we've been talking about, it should be 2,000 square feet. Well, I guess if we're not doing percentage, it doesn't really matter.
2,000 square feet of the usable floor area, not the actual building.
But if it's just a number, then it doesn't matter.
Oh,
Right. Gross or not gross doesn't matter.
If it was percentage, then we would.
It should be of the usable.
Okay, well then we should have like, 13 or 15%.
Because what if somebody wants to build an 8,000 square foot store?
Then it should be 13 or 15%
Is a
of the
percentage.
usable floor.
I like the percentage for that reason.
Something like that.
If somebody
That
just want to
works
build
out.
a smaller,
Yeah, and that's.
smaller store.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
So whatever percentage, who's got the,
15.5 or
15. 15.
50% of the usable square footage.
That makes sense to me.
Yes.
Okay.
Hoping that is achieving what we want to achieve and that you're gonna have fresh,
Yeah. That'll be fine.
bakery,
And that's,
deli,
yeah, and that's minimum.
but yeah.
Right.
But
Yep.
we
Without
want to get
getting
bigger,
hard to-
go for it.
Yes.
okay.
I still have a problem with the parking minimum.
Well, he's a
I
parking
think,
lot
I think,
specialist.
Yeah, he is.
This is the first time I've ever heard this in a meeting where somebody's arguing for less parking.
yeah,
Which-
because we have too much parking
It's a big
in this
thing now.
world. I mean,
Lots of cities want densification of the parking lots. They want to eliminate the taxing on the storm sewer. Southfield's big in that, and it's smart because there's a lot more Ubering going on, ride sharing.
Exactly.
So it's great, but I think his paragraph at the end that he put in there would really allow for
You
that.
could go for
We
less.
can prove that we need less.
you have to make a case for it though.
Right.
Instead of the minimum being one space for 250 square feet, just make it a much smaller number. One space per 10,000 square feet minimum.
Well, we also want to
Something,
make sure
something
that.
really small, and if he needs more parking, thinks he needs more parking, he'll build it. He doesn't
Can I
want it.
bring you to other municipalities? I developer clients do not need all this parking, they would love that.
There's a whole book on it.
Except when I go
You're
down.
wasting land.
Talk to Jim about that.
For a piece of asphalt
Mr.
for
Miller
a car,
parking?
not
Yeah.
sit in most of the time.
We're gonna
It's
get your cell number.
They can make the case for less.
Okay, so are we looking to put
A motion.
a motion on the
Yes.
floor to adopt the planning commission's recommendation with the modification of removing 2,000 and replacing it with 15% of the usable floor space?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any negatives?
I'm still confused if you have to roll call.
It's not a resolution, it's just a motion.
It's a motion.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep us posted. How you doing?
We hope to be back in front of you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Appreciate it.
The next one is fire services discussion. For a motion, I don't know what that is.
All right, so
Eric already made a motion earlier, so I don't know if you still want it.
No.
no, I do want to, maybe I did, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
So I asked for this because I mentioned earlier at last month's meeting, there was a motion put forward.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Wasn't in the minutes, we need to get this corrected. There was a motion put forward to rescind the motion that was approved in February to consider alternatives to fire services. So through some back and forth, I do think you can rescind a motion, by the way, but so I want to be clear that rescission is an option. But I think the legal counsel, I guess it was probably Michael or Mary, one or the other, came back with a recommendation that instead of using rescission is to discontinue pursuit of alternative fire services. Quote, that was quote unquote. And I think that's fine. I think it's really important, my opinion, that we kind of go back to what we agreed to last time, that it's the council's job to consider
Yeah. Well, that's the hard part.
alternatives from
Yeah.
any service.
Right.
And to have fire services specifically stated, I think needs to be discontinued. So I don't know if that's a motion or something, but we need to make it, I think so, it's a motion. So I make a motion that we discontinue pursuit of alternative fire services
And I'll second that.
For how long?
forever. Well, it can't be forever. It has to be.
In perpetuity, how about that?
No, but listen, again, I think if the village council has the assignment, we're elected to make sure we're considering options for anything. I'm not sure that we need something that says specific to fire services yet.
Yeah.
That's the way I would probably word it.
Right.
Because like I said, if we work with the fire department and somehow can't make it work, then we'll come back and address it.
Good. Do we have a second then?
Yes, we do. Yes.
Kathy seconded.
Didn't I second? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Negatives? No.
Thank you.
SACWA appointment of representative.
Yeah, this is a routine item that needs to be approved every year. It is actually a resolution, so we'll have to do a roll call. I did talk to Kathy because she's the alternate. But these meetings are usually held at 8 in the morning, so it's easy for me to attend. So I would just ask for approval of this so I can pass it on to SACWA.
I'm in the motion, so should I?
You can.
You can, I think.
You can offer the resolution.
Okay, I'm offering a resolution for the appointment of representative for SACWA. It's Jamie.
With Kathy as the
And I'm
alternative.
Yeah, I'm the alternative.
I'll second.
Okay.
All right,
We need
I do a roll call. Yep, I need a roll call. So Blackburn, absent. Howard,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Michigan,
Aye.
Hageman,
Aye.
Mick Alexander,
Aye.
Jerome.
Aye.
All right, next on the agenda, treasurer's report.
Treasurer's report, thank you. 3 items, 2 of which are motions. The first one that's in your packet, I'm gonna actually do it a little bit different this month. The same date, so from May 19th, 2026 through June 17th, 2026, the total disbursement out of both funds, general and gas and weight, is $447,762.65. The breakout between general fund and gas fund is, general fund is $208,457.51. The gas and weight fund is $239,305.14. Gas and weight is larger this month because we paid the first SIB repayment loan for the State Infrastructure Bank. So that happened, and that was $237,462 of that $239. I'll entertain any questions that you, council has regarding the payments through those specific dates.
Nope, we're good.
I make a motion to
Go ahead.
approve the June 2026 bills. Do you want the dates specifically? Because you're very specific on the dates.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Great, thank you. Second motion is to approve the financial statements for May 2026. In your packet, you have both the revenue and expense report for the period ending May 31st, 2026. And you also have the breakdown for investments for the general fund and for the gas and weight fund for May 2026. And again, I'll entertain any questions that you may have on either the investments and or the revenue and expense report that's in the packet.
Entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the report.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Last item C is the informational purposes that you guys asked me to put in every month, and it's the HRC Road Phase 1 project, not to exceed balance in the invoice as of, I believe it was May 23rd is in your packet. Any questions regarding that? It's pretty straightforward.
Is it anticipated that there'll be over $100,000 in excess when this is all?
It's hard to say. I mean, as the invoices come in, Brad and Ray.
Are you anticipating a big one?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not you're aware of?
Yeah. Although, things come in and all of a sudden I look at it and go, oh, where did this bill come from? So, it's the same thing with almost like, planning, right? I'm waiting for planning to do the last portion. Yeah, no. For planning to do the last billing or the last billing for this fiscal year. And then we'll go through and do the adjustments and close out the fiscal year when we work to close the fiscal year out.
Okay.
All right, no motion on that required. Trustee comments? None? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned.